2. Check mic 1 2 1 2 everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Let me see if this is working right now. I'm gonna check for myself. Check mic 1 2. All right, we're good. We're good. I can see that. I can hear my lovely voice. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of the Newscast, episode 108. I am Hakeem Johnson, your host and your announcer, I guess. Sure, whatever. Anyways, yeah, welcome. We've got a lot of things to recap. We've got a lot of things to predict. We've got a lot of things to talk about here tonight on the Newscast. A lot of wrestling this week and a lot of wrestling to come. We will talk about the New Japan events that have occurred this week. We'll do a little recap of that. We'll talk about the big historical event that was the STARDOM All Star Cinderella event that did a lot of big business for them and a lot of things as they move forward into a new direction, hopefully. We'll talk about that as well. Also, we'll be taking your questions and comments as well. And we will be talking about a particular narrative about how Japan, in terms of wrestling lore, will become the new battleground of this impending wrestling civil war that we are a part of right now as fans. So, we will talk about all of that here today. I'll try not to go long. I know I say it all the goddamn time, but you know me, I like to talk about a lot of things. We do have a lot of things to talk about, so we'll try to condense it as much as we can. I know AEW Dark is right now airing a special episode as we speak, so if there's anything that develops, we'll talk about that as it happens within the, as Dark is airing right now, basically. So, but anyways, let's talk about the big event that's coming up tomorrow night, folks. Tomorrow night, it's AEW, All Elite Wrestling's big event, the first event of 2021, Revolution. A lot of buzz, a lot of excitement, a lot of hype for this event in particular. And we are going to run down the card as it stands. And I have the card right in front of me right now via Wikipedia. Because as we know, Wikipedia is a credible source. That's what I've been told, at least. So this is the current card as it stands right now. And we will talk about that current card as it does stand. But. Before we do any predicting, before we run down any cards, before we do any of that stuff, we need to talk about something that has developed a, how do you say this? It's developed a buzz in its own right. So if you didn't watch AEW Dynamite, which, I mean, how do you not? But it was announced at AEW Dynamite with the debuting Paul White, formerly known as The Big Show. Paul White made an announcement saying that there is going to be a major Hall of Fame worthy surprise at Revolution this Sunday. Now, we know all the speculation. We know all the rumors that's going abound. I've seen it all throughout my timeline. I've seen it all throughout YouTube. I've seen it throughout all social media as who it could be, who it possibly can't be, yada, yada, yada. So let's talk about that before we talk about the Revolution card as it stands right now. Now, here's the deal. A lot of people seem to think that they have the answer to all of this. A lot of people seem to think that who they think it's going to be is going to be that mystery surprise. Before I make my own prediction, and you can make your own predictions on the live chat, by the way, whatever and whoever the surprise is going to be, there will be a section of people that will ultimately be disappointed. It's the simple notion of you're damned as you do, you're damned if you don't. And that's where AEW stands with this whole ordeal. Now, can you give them a little bit of blame for hyping this up as big as they did? Sure, you could probably do that. But we need to identify what we're talking about here. Now, Big Show said it's a Hall of Fame worthy level talent. He didn't say it was a Hall of Famer in particular. It was a Hall of Fame worthy surprise. Now, I'm going to run down some of the names that I have personally heard. If you have heard other names, you can put it on the chat room and we'll discuss that as well. But I have heard names such as CM Punk. That's kind of the obvious buzz-worthy answer here. I've heard Kurt Angle. I've heard Christian. I've heard John Cena. I've heard Batista. I've heard Brock Lesnar. I've heard Mark Henry. I've heard that it could be a New Japan wrestler. I've heard it could be somebody else that we don't really particularly know. Now, if you follow me on my personal Twitter, which is @Hakeem is winning, by the way, if you want to follow that, go ahead and do so. I posted something or I tweeted something just to be stupid and to be random about it, but I tweeted something stupidly saying that I think it's going to be CM Punk. I didn't really believe in that answer. I just said it just to say it, just to kind of cover my bases, if you will. Now, sitting here after about 2 or 3 days after that announcement, I'm really digging deep and thinking who it could be. Now, you'll have your drones out here, and you know, these drones, it's been a bad month for them, you know, with the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards happening, the way that Dynamite was able to pull off the Shaq experiment and get into their highest ratings since December, the fact that NXT is now moving to Tuesdays, you can call that as something as, well, Hockey's going to be there, but honestly, if WWE had any capital with USA and Universal, they could have used that capital to negotiate still staying on Wednesdays. They moved because they knew what the deal was. I don't want to hear any arguments otherwise or any type of bad faith argument as to why they're running away from this fight that they're losing, period. So it's been a bad sort of weeks and days for the drones, ladies and gentlemen. And now here we are, we're on the day before Revolution, and the surprise is being built up, and now they're going back to their bad faith arguments saying, oh, if it isn't John Cena, if it isn't Batista, if it isn't Lesnar, then this is going to be a wet fart of an announcement. It's just going to be a disappointment. It's just going to be something that's going to reminisce of the bad eras of TNA or the last years of WCW. And I just laugh my ass off because we need to dig into the context here. Yes, Sting is here. Yes, Big Show's here. Yes, the likes of Dustin Rhodes and Chris Jericho and other legends of that nature are here in AEW. But let's really talk about the difference here. I have watched TNA from the very beginning. I'm talking about June of 2002 when I was just a little kid like that. I was watching TNA back when it was still at the Asylum for those 4 episodes. Or it's not the Asylum, but back when they were in the fairgrounds in Tennessee before they moved to the Asylum. Okay? I was there when Ken Shamrock was the inaugural champion. I was there when the X Division was birthed. I was there for the Dub Cup. I was there for SCX. I was there for Vince Russo, unfortunately. I was there for Jeff Jarrett dominating the main event scene. I was there when R-Truth was the NWA TNA champion. I was there for all of that. Okay? So no one's going to try to question my knowledge and fandom of TNA for better or worse. AEW is nowhere near close to what TNA is doing with these legends. Because what would happen is that TNA would take a Kurt Angle, which actually is justified with Kurt Angle kind of at that time, but others like Sting, Kevin Nash, Diamond Dallas Page, Raven, Rhino, Mick Foley, Scott Hall, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Eric Bischoff, RVD, Jeff Hardy, Mr. Anderson. The list goes on of ex-WCW, ex-ECW, ex-WWF/E talent that was thrusted into the main event picture, like verbatim. And sometimes they would win the title, the world title, off of potential people like AJ Styles or Samoa Joe or Monty Brown, or or the people, or Abyss, or people of those nature. They would win those titles on their first try. Can someone point to me where Sting challenged Kenny Omega for the AEW World title and is going to win the title tomorrow night at Revolution? Can somebody point to me where the Big Show said he wants to defeat Darby Allin for the TNT title? And I know people are going to try to be dishonest and say, well, Chris Jericho was the first world champion. Yeah, and I still stand by that. The fact of the matter is that Chris Jericho had to be the first AEW champion. He was a recognizable name. He is a legend within wrestling inside and out, and he is somebody that is recognizable to the fans that they need to garner and grab to start this upstart promotion known as AEW. Chris Jericho had to be the AEW World Champion, and it worked out better for him and Hangman Adam Page the way that it went anyways. So that was just being dishonest. So AEW is nowhere close to doing what TNA or WCW were doing. When they get to that point where Sting is squashing Kenny Omega for the world title in 5 minutes or less, then we can talk. Then we can be in some sort of agreement. But until then, shut the fuck up and stop being dishonest when you're trying to argue something of this caliber. There are people that are excited for this surprise that's going to happen tomorrow night. Now, granted, there is a level to the surprise, though. I will say this. If it's something like Chris Masters, if it's something like Mr. Anderson, if it's something like Carlito, then we do need to start talking about how much this was a disappointment. But I'm hearing people talk about how if it's like Christian, it would be a disappointment. Excuse me, I seem to forget. Weren't all of you drones marking out and excited, deservingly so, by the way, when Christian came out at the Rumble a couple weeks ago and had one of the best Rumble performances of that match and had that moment with Edge? We were all happy and joyful and excited that Christian, after not being cleared to wrestle for all so long, came to the Rumble looking great physically and in terms of wrestling. Oh, but now that there's a rumor that he might be signing with AEW, now we're just saying Christian was overrated, Christian wasn't shit, Christian was overrated in TNA, Christian was never better than Edge. We're just trying to make all these excuses to cope with the fact that Christian Cage might be coming to AEW tomorrow night, and that WWE didn't have anything for Christian apparently after the Rumble, and which is mind-blowing since Edge won the Rumble himself, right? So we're doing all this coping. We're doing all this defense mechanism because Christian might be rumored to be going to AEW. That, to me, is something of a dishonest person. Somebody that wants to see a company like AEW, or even other companies like New Japan, or Noah, or Impact, or Ring of Honor, or other companies that could be a little bit of a threat to the Fed that they defend for free on social media. These idiots out here aren't even getting paid to dick ride this company the way that they do, and they're out here trying to defend this company to Kingdom Come, yet this company doesn't respect nor know them unless they pay them like the almighty dollar? Are you fucking kidding me? So listen, I will say this. I'll give you my prediction, right? And I'll tell you who's going to be and who it isn't going to be. It's not going to be John Cena. Let's X that out right now. It's not going to be John Cena. I know we all said, well, the Big Show was a WWE lifer and he went to AEW. I get it. But John Cena is a true and blue WWE product. The Big Show had prior success before WWE and WCW. It's not really the same thing. So John Cena to me is a WWE lifer. Unless something truly does happen to where they fuck him over, he's staying in that company, whether he's in Hollywood or not. So we can disregard that. It's not going to be The Rock, okay? He barely has any time for the WWE as it stands right now. You think he's going to make time for AEW? No. It's not going to be Batista for damn near the same reason. The man's a relatively famous movie star now, and he had his final match at WrestleMania with Triple H. He said that would be his final match, and I think he even posted something on Twitter saying that he wants to honor his retirement because a lot of people don't, and that's fair. And I don't think it's Batista. I just don't see it being Batista, basically. RVD, I don't see it. I think he just signed part-time with WWE to do a documentary on his life and his career. So he's out, and quite frankly, if you watched him in his last Impact's run, you really don't need that RVD anymore. A lazy, unmotivated, half-assing, aging RVD. You really don't need him in AEW. Mark Henry. Look, I like Mark Henry. Don't get me wrong. I do like Mark Henry, and I think his Hall of Fame work back in 2011, 2012 was some of his best work, if not his best work that he's ever done in his career. I do like Mark. He seems like a genuinely nice guy. But I also do find Mark Henry, especially if you have heard him in certain cases on Busted Open Radio, he comes off as a shill for the WWE. He kind of really does. He kind of comes off as somebody that he has his bullet points to defend the company in certain ways and will disregard any other company that tries to be measured up to WWE. He kind of comes off as that. But that's not to say that he wouldn't beat a mystery opponent or mystery surprise, but I'm not seeing that either. I think Big Show was the guy that they got for what they need in terms of building giants and big men. I don't think Mark Henry's needed, quite frankly. Who else was thing? Oh yeah, CM Punk. Now, I stupidly said CM Punk would be the guy, right? To be coming to AEW Revolution tomorrow night. But you know what? I think with CM Punk, I don't see him coming either. And the reason why I say that is because I think CM Punk has truly somewhat moved on from professional wrestling. I do kind of believe that. I do think that CM Punk is somebody that beats his own drum. He doesn't fall with anybody else. And I think also, even if you did get Punk, listen, CM Punk is the next guy that AEW would want to get in terms of what fits for their image and portfolio. I just think Punk is waiting for the pandemic to end to where it can really truly come back in a hero's welcome. And besides, if you wanted Punk, if you got Punk, wouldn't you want to announce that prior? I mean, CM Punk is still a big deal in professional wrestling. I would want to hype that up a lot for someone of CM Punk's caliber. A guy that's been away from WWE for years, a guy that ventured off to UFC and it didn't work for him, a guy that's been venturing off in other projects. He really hasn't been in wrestling form for about 6-7 years now. You would want to hype that up as something truly monumental for people to really buy the pay-per-view. But I just don't see what CM Punk... Hell, I could be wrong. Kurt Angle. Look, I understand, Kurt Angle did not have the best final run in WWE a couple years back. I really get it. I feel like his last match in WWE being Baron Corbin was an utter insult to the man, was an utter insult to the career and the legacy that Kurt Angle has given not just to WWE, but for the wrestling business in general. And I get it. I was not a fan of that either. But, folks, this isn't the Kurt Angle of 2001. Hell, this isn't even Perk Angle in TNA. This is Kurt Angle in 2021. And if you go back to some of those last matches that he had in WWE, you can tell the man was hurting. You can tell the man was not that Kurt Angle that you once was a fan of. Yeah, he's old, but that's not really the issue that I have with it. It's just that Kurt has gone through so much in his career, let alone his life. And it's completely taken a toll against him. And it's painful. I was watching that match with Baron Corbin, unfortunately, and it was painful to see the way Kurt was moving. You can tell the man, the way he was throwing Germans, the way he was trying to get up afterwards, the way he could barely get in that angle slam. I don't need that in AEW, man. I really don't. I respect Kurt Angle. Hell, if you want to bring Kurt Angle as some sort of ambassador, a Legends ambassador for AEW in some sort of way or fashion, I wouldn't really even have a problem with that. But him being a part-time, let alone full-time wrestler for AEW, nah, I don't want to see that, man. I don't want to see Kurt Angle potentially permanently injuring himself, let alone maybe even killing himself, just for my selfish entertainment. I don't need to see that. I don't need that to ruin the legacy that is Kurt Angle. So I don't, and I know Kurt Angle posted something on Instagram, I think today. Don't buy it. I personally think it's a smokescreen to get you guys to believe it's Kurt Angle. I don't think it's Kurt Angle. I just don't think it's Kurt Angle. So that really leaves me to two options here in terms of who I believe could it be. That would be, to me, Christian and Brock Lesnar. Let's talk about Brock first of all. Now, a lot of people were thinking it can't be Brock Lesnar. It just can't be Brock Lesnar. But really think about this, though, however. Brock Lesnar is a businessman. Brock Lesnar is somebody that a lot of people do not give him credit for in terms of how smart he actually is. How much of a worker he truly is. And I'm not just talking about his work in the ring. Brock Lesnar has been able to take advantage of Vince McMahon and Dana White simultaneously for these past couple of years to get the most money possible for him at his age and worth. That is impressive. That is pretty good. Now, as we can see, Paul Heyman's been aligned with Roman Reigns on SmackDown, and there really has been no hint or mention or allusion that Brock Lesnar is going to come back anytime soon. And it seems to me that it wouldn't be far-fetched to think Brock Lesnar would get a big money contract offer from Tony Khan because they have the money to do it. It wouldn't be off the realms to see how Brock Lesnar would look at the money being offered compared to WWE and going for it. Let's be honest, Brock Lesnar, he has no loyalty to any company. The only reason why he's been in the WWE for this long because they paid him the most and gave him the most out of what the work he put into. But he has no loyalty to the WWE. If anything has taught you with the Big Show coming into AEW these past couple of days, it should teach you that loyalty is a foreign language in professional wrestling. So it's not far-fetched to see that Brock Lesnar could look at that money amount that the Khans will offer him to come to AEW and him taking advantage of it. And I'll be honest with you, look, if Brock Lesnar is the surprise guy, if he's a surprise announcement tomorrow night, that is a big deal. That is a huge deal. Now, I have had my criticism of Brock Lesnar. I find the guy to be someone who is lackadaisical when he wants to be, although he's giving you some banger matches, by the way, as well. But I've also said that you need a Brock Lesnar in your company, but you don't need to rely on him all the time. That's the issue that I had with Brock Lesnar as well. So Brock Lesnar coming in would be in a new open environment in AEW. But here's the deal, though. This cannot be WWE Brock Lesnar. This has to be a Brock Lesnar that, yes, he's getting paid a lot, but he has to play ball too. And I hope Tony Khan and AEW realize that they need to be the ones making the statement known that, look, Brock, we're paying you a lot of money, and you're not going to be really working that much, pandemic or not. But we have a lot of people that want to work with you. Now, granted, if you want to work how that match will be displayed and how that match will go, fine, that's between you and that person. But we want you to give it your absolute best. If we're going to pay you this much money, then you need to be worth it. That'll be the difference maker. Then we go to Christian, or Christian Cage. Christian, like I just stated earlier, Christian just had a phenomenal, well, let me scale it back, a very good, if not great performance at the Rumble a couple of weeks back in that men's Rumble match. And he had a moment with Edge, which was really enduring as well. Now, I assume that Christian would have been back afterwards from the Rumble because Edge is the winner of the Rumble. He will be facing Roman Reigns for the Universal title at WrestleMania this year. I would have thought Christian would have been used as a plot device for Edge and Roman getting there to that match. But Christian really has not been seen, heard, or talked about by the WWE on programming or off programming since the Rumble. And that's weird to me. Christian looks great. He's gotten in great shape. He looks to be a guy that is truly on his own venture to really prove himself that he still has it after being cleared by doctors. But the fact that WWE hasn't capitalized on Christian after the Rumble is a warning sign to me. And there has been a lot of scuttlebutt and rumors that I've been picking up this week that it is indeed going to be Christian. Now, is Christian going to be a guy that matches the star power of Brock Lesnar? Of course not. Of course not. But I refuse to sit here and let people disingenuously say that Christian going to AEW would be a quote-unquote disappointment or it would be a wet fart. On what planet do you live on? Get outside of the wrestling bubble of 2005 and really try to conjure this feeling or thought that's going to your mind right now. For a Christian Cage, being as motivated and looking as great as he does, he has a whole new world to wrestle some very worthy opponents that can give him some of his best matches in his current life. You've got people like Kenny Omega, Jon Moxley, Pac, Rey Fenix, Lance Archer, Cody Rhodes himself, and the way he's reinvented himself, Darby Allin, Sting, for a little bit of a TNA throwback, Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, which is an underrated guy that I would like Christian to work with, by the way. There's a plethora of talent in AEW that Christian could work with and get the best out of. He is an asset. Just like how Serena Deeb was picked up by AEW and has been such an underrated asset for that women's division. I know her and Thunder Rosa, but her in particular, being the veteran, being the one structuring matches to get the best out of her opponents. I feel that Christian can be just as that for the men's side of things in AEW. So, I feel that it's going to be either Brock or Christian tomorrow night that AEW has hyped up as this surprise. And if you're going to put a gun to my head and really make me choose between one or the other, I will just say Christian, just for the likelihood that it's more possible. As much as I think Brock would still be able to take something of a big check from the Khans, I don't know if Brock thinks that AEW is a company worthwhile to him compared to the WWE. He might be one of these people that think that AEW is minor leagues compared to WWE, which I disagree with, obviously. But in Brock's mind, he might think that. So, I'll just be safe and say it's Christian. It's not going to be a New Japan guy. I want to rule that out as well. The New Japan Cup is going on as we speak right now. So don't expect any New Japan appearance, at least in person, tomorrow night as well. So I think it's going to be Christian. If you want a serious answer from me, I think it's going to be Christian. But what do you think? Who do you think is going to be the surprise appearance that Paul White hyped on Wednesday's Dynamite? Who do you ultimately think it's going to be? Maybe it's a name that I didn't mention. Or maybe it's not even a wrestler. It could be an announcer. It could be a former personality. Who knows? Let me know in the comments section live on the chat there if you think that I missed a name here or there. Or if you maybe agree with my analysis. Or maybe you have a different analysis as well. So, but be that as that may, let's finally get to the card here. Let's finally talk about the card as it stands right now, as you can see on your screen here. Here we go. So we have a buy-in here. It's going to be Riho and Thunder Rosa teaming up against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Rebel, whatever. Now, this has storytelling in this match, going back to Thunder Rosa and Dr. Britt Baker. Britt Baker defeated Thunder Rosa at Beach Break a couple of weeks ago on Dynamite. Thunder Rosa wants revenge. I'm sure Britt Baker defeating one of Thunder Rosa's students and Maddie Rakowski in the Eliminator tournament. Thunder Rosa will have more of an edge now to go after Britt Baker and Rebel. Now, the commentators hinted on Wednesday's Dynamite, you may have missed it because it was said quickly, but they did say that if Rebel was not able to compete due to the way Nyla Rose destroyed her last week, that Dr. Britt Baker can maybe get a substitute in place for Rebel. Will that occur? Who knows? But we'll see how it goes. I expect this to be a match that will advance a story, not necessarily a match quality match, if you will. But, you've got two women's matches in this card. I know, it's a buy-in, so it's kind of a pre-show, but it's still a secondary. It's still a second women's match. So, there you have it. But let's get to the main card of Revolution here. Casino Tag Team Royale for a future AEW World Tag Team Championship match. I'm not even going to bother to name all the tag teams in this Casino Tag Team Royale. You can probably put two and two together if you found the graphic of who's in that Tag Team Royale. But I'll just give you my prediction. I think first of all, I know FTR. I know that FTR is not in this tag team royale. I do know that. If you want me to be honest, I think this could go with two teams. I think one team would be Santana and Ortiz, Proud and Powerful, considering how the Young Bucks wiped them out on this past week's Dynamite. And two, because with Santana and Ortiz, it would be an interesting dynamic here. Should the Young Bucks retain the titles tomorrow night, that's going to be a ready-made feud with a lot of history behind it between Proud and Powerful and the Young Bucks. And that would still continue the Young Bucks Inner Circle storyline. But if Jericho and MJF were able to win those titles, that would create a certain interesting dichotomy in the Inner Circle. Do Santana Ortiz go after Jericho and MJF, despite them all being cohorts of the Inner Circle? Does this cause a certain split within the Inner Circle? Hell, Sammy Guevara just left. He's not even there. And I'll get to him in a minute, but this could cause an even bigger rift if Santana Ortiz won that tag team title shot and Jericho and MJF win the titles on Sunday as well. So a lot of storytelling taking place here in that Casino Battle Royal. The other team that I think could also win this Battle Royal as well, I think, personally to me, I think Silver and Reynolds, man. I think you can make a big claim that Silver and Reynolds, for how they've been impressive, for how they have been able to reinvent themselves within the Being the Elite and Sammy Guevara's vlogs and even Dynamite and Dark, they have really garnered a following. And it's like, if you want to really follow up on that, screw it. You might as well give them this chance at winning the title shot. They don't have to beat Jericho and MJF. They don't have to beat the Young Bucks, whoever retains the titles. Whoever has the titles by then. But I think Silver and Reynolds deserve this opportunity to showcase how far they've gotten within the Dark Order gimmick, and obviously with Brody Lee as well. I wouldn't be mad about Silver and Reynolds winning those titles. But it'll be interesting to see who truly will get this win in this Casino Tag Team Royale. Should be an interesting match. I expect an entertaining match. I think all the teams will understand what things will go on between each of everybody involved, basically. Let's see here. The next match here, Miro and Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford taking on the best friends of Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor. Now, I will be the first to tell you, I haven't necessarily been a complete fan of this feud. Now, granted, I'm not one of these people that are saying that Miro has been a bust in AEW. I don't agree with that. But I do agree that Miro's direction in AEW has been inconsistent. I will agree with that. And him being paired with Kip Sabian, I'm sorry, folks. I don't see it in Kip Sabian. I find Kip Sabian to be bland and generic, even as a high flyer or British wrestler. I just don't find anything that makes him stand out from anyone else. Like, put it this way: if you put him on NXT UK, you wouldn't find anything that makes him stand out either. Just my opinion. But I guess, Orange Cassidy, he'll always bring the entertainment value, and Chuck Taylor, he's a good, solid hand when he wants to be. Sucks that Trent's out right now because the best friends, if they were still active, they should also be considered winning that Casino Tag Team Royal as well. I will say this, though. I do expect Miro and Sabian to win, but that'll be more so on Miro. I do expect Miro to finally unleash the beast and beat the complete shit out of Cassidy and Chuck Taylor. I do expect that. Now, granted, you remember, Miro is ranked. He is top 5 ranked in the men's division. I haven't forgotten that. So, I think tomorrow night will begin the slow progress of Miro becoming that killer that everybody wants him to be. Although, granted, I don't want him to be Rusev. I kind of tweeted this during Dynamite this week, but I said, hell, have him be a Bulgarian drug lord who wears the finest of Versace, drives the greatest of Lamborghinis. He's just a guy that's living his best life, has all the great games, has all the great suit wear, has all the great chucks, all that shit. Like, go all out with that guy, because I think someone like Miro can pull that off. But I expect Miro and Kip to win that match. Let's see, next up here, I'm going to skip that match because I want to talk about that match last. But It's the Face of the Revolution ladder match for the future AEW TNT Championship match. It's Cody Rhodes with Arn Anderson, Scorpio Sky, Penta El Zero Miedo, Lance Archer with Jake Roberts, Matt Caster, and a sixth unannounced opponent. So we're getting two surprises here at Revolution tomorrow night. Now, I'm going to say this here because I like predicting these things. To me, there are only two answers to who should win this. If you want to make a true splash, if you want to make a true impact, if you will, of this match, then I guess you would want the mystery person to win. Who is going to be the mystery person? I know people are going to think it's Ethan Page, depending on how he left Impact. I get it. I low-key joked about it being Cesaro, but I know it won't be Cesaro, unfortunately. Has anyone thought of it being possibly Chris Hero? Has anyone really thought that maybe Chris Hero, who has been silent here and there unless he's doing his podcast with Conrad, has anyone ever thought that it could very well be Chris Hero being the mystery opponent? I still stand by my prediction that I made on a newscast that I made prior. Chris Hero will be in AEW in some capacity this year. I still stand by that. I see myself... Because Chris Hero, he has the connections with a lot of the AEW talent. He was one of the many people during the golden era of the independent scene that has birthed and led to the AEW creation. It's tailor-made for someone like Chris Hero. The man is a wrestling encyclopedia. He fits all the check marks to me. And if it is Chris Hero, screw it. Go with Chris Hero, in my opinion. I think him and Darby Allin would have a really good match for the TNT title. My second prediction, and you may not like this, but it is what it is. The second one, I think, has to be Cody Rhodes. Now, hold on. Roll with me for a minute, okay? Let me explain why I think it should be Cody Rhodes as well. Cody Rhodes lost the TNT title to Darby Allin at Full Gear. Cody and Darby have had a friendly back-and-forth rivalry over the TNT title. Now, with Cody, he just had a match with Shaq on Dynamite, right? Which, by the way, was fucking awesome. Go check it out if you haven't. That match over-delivered. But Cody has felt neglected, if you will. Now, roll with me here. When Sting made its debut in AEW, Cody and Darby were in the ring, right? The following week, Cody was so happy and was so grateful that Sting came to AEW and wanted to be the first guy that Sting had a match with, of something of that nature. But Sting kind of blew him off. Sting kind of blew him off and said, I'm not here for you. I'll be here for you later, but you weren't the first person I was here for. I'm looking at a guy up in the rafters that reminds me of me, which was Darby Allin. Now, if you know the Cody Rhodes character on screen, and quite frankly off screen, did you think Cody forgot about that slight? Did you think Cody Rhodes forgot being big leagued by Sting, a former ally of his father Dusty Rhodes and his brother Dustin Rhodes? Cody, for all intents and purposes, whether he's a face or a heel, is a narcissist. That's what he is. Did you think that he was going to let go of the fact that Sting came for Darby more so than Cody? So Cody wins this match, gets another shot at Darby to rectify his loss at Full Gear. Now that Darby and Sting have aligned with each other. And I'll even go a step further. Because that's how great this whole underlying story has become, in my opinion. FTR had a match with the Jurassic Express. FTR and Tully had a match with the Jurassic Express. And who came out with FTR and Tully? The legendary manager of the Four Horsemen, J.J. Dillon. James J. Dillon, if you will. FTR win due to help with a masked assailant who ended up being the returning Shawn Spears. I know people kind of gave a wet fart on the Shawn Spears return. It made sense, so I didn't really have a problem with it. There you have it, JJ, Tully, FTR, and Shawn Spears all huddled together doing the infamous Four Horsemen hand-piling taunt, right? Who came out while they were doing that, by the way? Who came out from the stage as they were celebrating the win? That would be the enforcer, Arn Anderson. That would be Cody's coach. And what did Arn Anderson do? He pervaded the scene. He looked around and saw what they were doing and flashed the iconic four fingers. And JJ, Tully, and FTR and Spears acknowledged it. So, I have seen it coming. A lot of people have been seeing it coming since the inception of AEW, quite frankly, that we were going to get some form of a Four Horsemen stable in AEW. Now, the members could vary here and there, but we kind of figured that the Four Horsemen stable was coming soon. Seems to me all they need is a fourth member in that group. And who perfectly to do that? Then Cody Rhodes. Yes, folks. Quote me right now, ladies and gentlemen. I will be here to say this, right? I think that Cody Rhodes winning this match at Revolution on Sunday will begin the process of him being a villainous EVP that leads this new incarnation of the Four Horsemen. Mark my fucking words. What did Cody tweet out, by the way, during this week as well? Cody tweeted out a picture with the FTR group and Tully. My history with Shawn Spears aside. You don't think someone like Cody would put aside his issues with Shawn Spears to get to what he ultimately needs, which is power? And how perfect would it be for Cody to be the villainous EVP that leads this Four Horsemen incarnation with him, Spears, and FTR, with the remaining members of that group of the inaugural Horsemen of Arn, Tully, and JJ. Flair's in WWE right now, so he can't really be here. But regardless, and him being slighted by Sting, what would be the best revenge to make Sting regret sliding Cody? By beating Darby for that TNT title and beating him down to where Sting will have no choice but to acknowledge Cody, and off to the races you go with Sting versus Cody. Mwah. Chef kiss indeed. That would be awesome. And that's where I think a lot of this is going. You don't tease shit like this like you did on Wednesday without it going somewhere. And knowing how AEW has been precise with their storytelling, better than most promotions, quite frankly, there's something underlining this. There's something really good with this tease. Hell, we haven't even got the blood and guts match yet. Could you imagine us doing... Look, you got the Four Horsemen here with FTR, Spears, and Cody, and then you can do it with another group like... Shit, this bizarro Bullet Club faction you got with Gallows, Anderson, Omega, and then you would have one more person. Either could be a Buck or somebody from New Japan. Who knows? There's a lot of things you can do with that win from Cody, which is why I know people are going to not like Cody winning this match if it happens, but I will be not only okay with it, I would actually agree with it because of what it can entail and what it could do for Cody, the people that he'll feud with, and the people he'll align with. So, if you're not going to go with the mystery person, I would go with Cody. No disrespect to Scorpio Sky, or Penta, or Lance, or Max, but this is Cody's to win, in my opinion. Next up, Hangman Adam Page taking on Big Money Matt Hardy in the big money match. The winner will receive the loser's 2021 first quarter earnings. This is a classic old school Crockett Mid-South match, quite frankly, to me. And on the heels of us losing Jim Crockett Jr. this week, condolences go to him and his family, by the way, unfortunately. But this is clear babyface heel old school match here to me. I think Matt Hardy realized that the broken Matt Hardy gimmick during the pandemic wasn't working for the most part. It just felt like it was not only passe, but without really a genuine crowd to really play off the broken Matt gimmick, it just wasn't going to work the same or nowhere even close to the same. So he switched course. AEW Matt Hardy switched course, and they went with the big money Matt gimmick, which I was kind of mixed with in TNA, quite frankly, but I have kind of enjoyed it here in AEW. It seems to be more focused. It seems to be more tailored. It seems to be more of a motive of what Big Money Matt is really doing. He's basically being a carny. He's basically a wrestling carny. That's the gimmick. So that's fucking great, actually. But nonetheless, you have Hangman Adam Page. Now, the character arc, the character story of Hangman Adam Page since the inception of AEW has been brilliant. Here's a guy that a lot of people were pushing to be the guy that's going to represent AEW into the new era of wrestling. A lot of people aren't really taken to him compared to other people like Omega or Pac or Moxley. He loses his chance to win the world title against Jericho in the first All Out in 2019. Then ever since then, he's been on a drunken stupor, just drinking himself out of depression and anger. He eventually got an AEW tag team title run with Kenny Omega, but that ended up making him not only distance himself from his friends in the Elite, he eventually lost the title with Omega, and they went their separate ways. So Hangman Adam Page has been a guy without an island, basically. He's been a guy that's been on his own, basically. Now, granted, now you have the Dark Order, who beforehand Brody Lee was trying to coerce to join the Dark Order group. And now the Dark Order is still trying to persuade him to join because they really see Adam Page as family. Adam Page being hesitant, saying, I'm not really into being a part of any faction. I ain't here to be a part of any, type of faction or group here. I kind of want to be a loner. But that hesitation is what makes this story great. Because now Matt Hardy can come in. He sees a guy that's down on his luck, a loner, a guy that is just mad at everybody. He doesn't know who to trust. And now Matt knows he can take advantage of somebody that's at his lowest point currently. So he makes him sign a contract. Just like he may try to make a Private Party in the Hybrid 2. But Adam Page is smart. He switched the contract and coerced Matt Hardy to a match at Revolution where the winner will get the loser's Q1 earnings of 2021. Brilliant. I've actually liked the story, by the way. I thought the story was going to be kind of meh in how it was set up, but I've actually enjoyed the way it's been set up in terms of how Heyman Adam Page is having a internal conflict with himself while there's a Carney and Matt Hardy looking to take advantage of him, and the Dark Order's trying to make him see the light of all groups, by the way. But I expect this match to be pretty good, solid for what it is. I think Matt Hardy, who has lost a lot of weight, who has seemed to be motivated, will give Adam Page a really good match to look really great. I expect Adam Hangman Page to win. And afterwards, who knows? Maybe he does join the Dark Order by proxy. But I do still say that Adam Page will be the guy to end Kenny Omega's run. I do think that's the direction they have to go with this whole thing with Adam Page. He has to be the guy that ends Kenny Omega as Kenny Omega goes on his warpath being this villainous, narcissistic champion. It has to be Hangman, in my opinion. I don't think any other answer to me really will fit of who should dethrone Kenny Omega. I think it has to be Adam Page. Then, for the AEW Women's World Championship, Hikaru Shida will take on Ryo Mizunami. Folks, there has been dummies out there. Drones, smooth brains, if you will, who have done their damnness to completely undermine and shit on the AEW Women's Division. there have been idiots out there that have tried to disregard and undermine this whole women's eliminator title tournament that was taking place. I hope people finally understand who to not take seriously anymore. Is the AEW women's division perfect? Hell no. Is it even near perfect? No. There are still issues that they need to fix, quite frankly, in my opinion. But there have been dum-dums out there that have tried to convince people, like me, of all people, by the way, but others like me, quite frankly, that AEW doesn't care about their women. AEW is purposely sabotaging their women's division. AEW isn't doing 2 women's matches or making women have half of the Dynamite show. Why are they on Dark so much? Listen to me. First of all, shut the fuck up. Second of all, this tournament that we had for the women's division has been killer. You understand me? This was a great tournament. This, quite frankly, to me, was AEW's best tournament in general. I think the women's eliminated tournament was better than the men's, and I think the women's eliminated tournament was better than the women's tag team tournament. Now, Hikaru Shida, I've been a fan of hers in recent years. Now, her title reign wasn't the best, quite frankly. You know, being inconsistent in the way she showed up, how she really didn't have a defining rivalry with anybody. She just had like title defenses with the likes of Penelope Ford and Anna Jay and Tay Conti, I believe, Abaddon. Can't believe that happened, but the only really defining rivalry she did have was with Nyla Rose. But I think as of late, I'm starting to see the value of Hikaru Shida as champion. She truly has become a formidable ambassador with the women's division and AEW in general. She helped produce this women's tournament in Japan. Now, a lot of you, I'm sure, are familiar with Joshi Wrestling, and we will talk about STARDOM later on tonight, but this whole tournament introduced to a lot of people that are not familiar with the Joshi scene and culture just what they have been missing. A lot of the drones I don't expect to really get Joshi because they're just indoctrinated with the 4 horsewomen bullshit. But look at the people that they showcase. Maki Ito, another Yuka Sakazaki, Emi Sakura, who in my opinion was the tournament MVP throughout this entire run. I hope she comes back with this Queen gimmick that she was doing in this tournament. I think the Freddie Mercury gimmick, I got it, but it just didn't translate to a lot of the American audience at the time. I think this Queen gimmick, being a veteran wrestler of her own caliber, I think it's perfect. And I honestly think she should be the one that goes after Hikaru Shida after this match. But irregardless. But then now you have Ryo Mizunami. Aniki, if you will. Now, if you've been following Ryo's career, she's a very charismatic, energetic, and powerful wrestler. The match that she's had with Hikaru Shida in the past in Wave, a Joshi promotion, she's had draws with them. The last draw she had was in 2019, I believe in May. No. I believe it was in July. So it would be like 2 or 3 months after the Double or Nothing pay-per-view, by the way. Ryo Mizunami has been made by this tournament. Look at the people she had to go through to win. She beat a favorite in Maki Ito. She beat a legend in Aja Kong. She beat a Tokyo Joshi ace in Yuka Sakazaki. She beat a former AEW Women's Champion, Nyla Rose. And to me, all of those matches were great. Good to great, at least. Ryo Mizunami is not a box office draw. I get that. And I know a lot of people were bitching about, oh, why wasn't it Britt Baker? Why wasn't it Thunder Rosa? Why wasn't it Nyla Rose? Listen to me. Britt Baker will get her heat back by being the gimmick that she is. She's a character that can cut a fiery promo. She will get her heat back. This tournament does not stop her. She will eventually become AEW Women's Champion. It's not her time now. Thunder Rosa, although she's been a part of AEW these past couple of months, she's still contractually obligated to NWA, who's now coming back, by the way, this month. So unless Thunder Rosa runs out her contract with the NWA and finally signs with AEW, she's not going to get that push or is going to get that spotlight that a lot of people think she should get, which I do believe she should get too, but even though she's ranked, she's still not officially signed with AEW. So, it's not going to be her. Nyla Rose, we've been down that road before. She's been a former AEW Women's Champion. She had her matches with Shida. And yes, it would have made storyline sense with the history between Nyla and Shida if Nyla had one. But you don't need to go down that well yet. Again, I don't think people need another Nyla Shida match like that. It had to be Rio. You're telling me that you're going to bring somebody from the Japan bracket for her to lose on Dynamite and just send her packing? Fuck no. Rio was the right choice. I told people, if you were following me on Twitter, right? If you were following me on Twitter at this tournament, I was telling people, do not sleep on Rio. She's not as flashy as Yuka, all right? She's not as of a legendary stature as Aja Kong. She's not as fluid in the ring maybe as a Thunder Rosa. I get all that. But Rio is somebody that when she's given the ball, she's really good in the ring. She's very charismatic, and she can make her opponent look great. I told people, don't sleep on Rio. And I have been vindicated. I have been proven right. Rio is going to Revolution tomorrow night to fight Hikaru Shida. And by the way, go ahead on YouTube and check out that video package between Hikaru and Rio. It was great. They explained the story between the two. They explained Rio's purpose as to why she's coming to AEW to wrestle at Revolution. She was about to retire in 2019, but because she came to Double or Nothing, it reinvigorated her spirit to continue wrestling and that she wanted to be a part of AEW. And now she gets to fight a longtime rival, a longtime opponent in Hikaru Shida, who is the standard bearer, who is the franchise of the women's division. This match, to me, quite frankly, I think it's going to steal the show. I think this match is going to be a top 3 match at the end of the night. I think this match is going to surprise a lot of you people. And I do think Shida will retain the match. I think Shida will win the match and retain her title. I don't disagree with a lot of you with that. But I think Rio is here to stay. She has no other future events right now in Japan. And I believe she was going to move to the U.S. anyways to be a part of AEW. So consider Rio Mizunami a long-term fixture in AEW, whether she wins the title or not here. But this should be a really... I expect a great match between these two. And then we get to the 3 main events, the 3 marquee matches of the card, right? We got Team Taz, Brian Cage and Ricky Starks taking on Darby Allin and Sting in a street fight. Folks, this has been building up since, I believe, we're almost getting to a year, actually, where Darby Allin and Taz had their issues, where Taz wanted to teach Darby how to get better, and Darby blew him off. And then Taz brought in Brian Cage at Double or Nothing 2 last year and wrecked Darby and won the whole ladder match. And ever since, he has been building a team with Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, Will Hobbs, and Hook, the GOAT. Yes. Hashtag Hook for G1, goddammit. That man is a savage. That man is a goon, bro. That is a guy that you don't meet in the aisles in the dark alley. You don't meet that dude. Because you don't know what that dude's packing, bro. You don't know what that dude's got on his arsenal, man. But yeah, Team Taz, to me, if you can't tell, I think is the best faction in wrestling today. I think they have 4 individuals that are distinct. They stand out. They have their own purpose. They have their own motivation as to what they do and why they're part of Team Taz. And man, boy, Taz, there's a reason why that man won Best Non-Wrestler in the Observer Awards. There's a reason for that. Taz has been reinvigorated. The man has been on fire with his promos and character. It just amazes me how for years in WWE and then later in TNA that people did not use Taz effectively to where he can give you such content and give you such fire and passion in his promos and his character. The man has been on point, and he's been doing a great job as this leader of Team Taz. Now, then you got Sting, right? First thing, before we go to Sting, Darby Allin. Darby Allin wins the TNT Championship from Cody Rhodes at Full Gear. Defended the title against Brian Cage, defeated him. But he has been getting beaten and beaten and beaten and beaten by Team Taz. Because he's a loner. That's just what happens. And then Winter's Coming happens in December. And here he comes. It's Sting! I can't do that as Tony. Why'd I even bother? But, yeah, Sting. A shocking surprise appearance from Sting that night. Aligned himself with Darby. I think everybody knew that when Sting came to AEW, it had to be him working with Darby. It just had to be. I will never forget that stare down Sting and Darby had on his debut appearance in AEW. That spoke volumes without either one of them saying a word. And now it's like Sting is just taking Darby in as his protege. And Darby looking into somebody like Sting, who used to be what he was in the past, and now Sting recognizes that it's Darby in that same shadow. It's great storytelling. It's been a year-long storytelling feud between Team Taz and Darby, including now with Sting. And Sting, boy, I tell you what, I fully believe that Sting worked the Fed, man. I really do believe that Sting truly over-exaggerated his injuries and his bumping in WWE because he wanted to get the hell out of there. The way that they disregarded his legacy, the way they try to tie him into a failing WCW promotion, the way that he jobs to Triple H at WrestleMania, his first goddamn match in WWE, his first goddamn WrestleMania in general, and he loses to Triple H as the NW and DX come out and take away all that attention from Sting, and then he loses Seth Rollins, and then that's the end of his career. Man, fuck that, bro. That was going to be the last images of Sting? Nah, man. I'm all for Sting coming to AEW and wanting to make a final run to where he will be the one to dictate the way he will go out. Because he wants to come to AEW because, look, you can tell. Okay, granted, I mean, Sting coming in every week hasn't been a smart maneuver, quite frankly, because you diminish his star power and the ratings show it, but look at every time Sting comes out. The man looks thrilled to be there. He looks actually happy to be there. I think he feels relieved that he's not a part of WWE and the way they were just going to put him in a shelf to be dusted forever. Now he's in AEW to where he can really start to make his own way of retiring once and for all. He doesn't want his last few moments in wrestling to be him jobbing to Triple H, an egotistical Triple H, and an unover Seth Rollins as champion. He wants to come and end it on his own terms, and I think this will be the start of that. Now, how do you do this? Well, you can make the argument that Team Taz could win this here. You would want maybe a Ricky Starks to pin a Sting and have him made, because I do think Ricky Starks is a future AEW World Champion, in my opinion. Or you could have Darby and Sting win because it's Sting's debut match in AEW. But I would like for Darby to be the one to get the pin. He is the TNT champion. It's like Sting won't lose anything if he doesn't pin somebody. I think Darby being the one to pin a Starks or a Brian Cage in this match would really do something for Darby and really cement him as a main player in AEW. But I'm looking forward to it. Sting looks great, in my opinion, in the past few episodes of Dynamite. He looks like he can still take a bump. He looks like he can still move well for his age. I'm looking forward to it. I do look forward to it. I do think Darby and Sting will eventually win it. But I wouldn't be mad either at Team Taz winning as well. For the AEW World Tag Team titles, it will be the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, defending the titles against the Inner Circles, Chris Jericho and MJF. Now, this is a little bit interesting as well because the Young Bucks have always made themselves to say that they are the top team, not just in AEW, but the entire world. If you recall last year's Revolution and that epic, one of the greatest tag team matches in the modern era, probably one of the greatest matches of all time if you ask certain people. But the Young Bucks were trying to go for the tag team titles against Omega and Page, and they lost. So now here they are at Revolution. They're walking in as champions, but there's that fear that they can lose to Jericho and MJF. Now, The Inner Circle has had their problems as of late. With the insertion of MJF and Wardlow into the Inner Circle has caused a shift. It's caused a tension with certain Inner Circle members. Sammy Guevara has had issues with MJF and called out Chris Jericho for letting them in, to the point where Sammy Guevara left, and we haven't seen or heard from him since. Now, I like the fact that Jericho is aware of who MJF is. Because let's be honest, Jericho used to be the guy that MJF is now. So he's aware of what MJF is and what he's trying to do. But Jericho's confident enough that he can try to control him to where he won't be able to one-up him. So, how do you do that? Well, there's two ways you can go about it. The Young Bucks can retain the titles. Sammy Guevara can come back and cost MJF the titles, and thus you begin the civil war within the Inner Circle. Or the Young Bucks lose those titles by interference by Wardlow or Hager or whoever, and then Sammy Guevara comes back, and it'll add to the fact that I said that if Santana and Ortiz win the Casino Battle Royal, you can cause a shift. Santana and Ortiz, they side with Sammy or they stick with the Inner Circle. A lot of things you can tell with this whole thing. But I do think tomorrow night there will be an important moment for the Inner Circle. Whether they win the tag team titles or not, who knows? But something will happen that will cause another seismic shift for the Inner Circle. In terms of who I think is going to win, I will say this. I'll say the Young Bucks retain, because I think they might be gearing up for another Young Bucks FTR rematch from what things are starting to conspire around. And I think the more important thing here will be that the Inner Circle will have more issues going forward. So I do expect the Young Bucks to retain the tag team titles. But I will not be surprised if MJF and Jericho win it here as well. But I will go with the Young Bucks. Folks, that just leaves us with one more match. The match. The main event of the evening. And man, wrestling is interesting in a lot of ways, man. It's just when you think you've seen everything, you continue to be surprised what they throw against you. For the AEW World Championship, in an exploding barbed wire death match, the champion Kenny Omega with Don Callis will defend the title against Jon Moxley. I want to address some things first here before I even get into anything here. I think a lot of people are giving the notion here that this will not deliver. I'm going to disagree with you. With the budget and money that Tony Khan and AEW have, and with the creative mindset of a Tony Khan, Jon Moxley, and Kenny Omega, this is going to be legit. The only way this match doesn't deliver is if the audio visuals of the match don't match of previous death matches. Maybe that'll be the only way. But they're going to be brutal, folks. This is not going to be any, this isn't going to be any typical hardcore match. It's not going to be like Extreme Rules from WWE. Hell, it won't even be a typical hardcore match. You're just throwing weapons on each other. This is a barbed wire exploding death match, folks. Go watch some IWA Japan or FMW if you don't really understand what that means. Go watch the infamous Terry Funk Onita match back in the day. This shit's going to be brutal. If you thought what they did at Full Gear 2 years ago was going to be anything that you saw, boy, you think again. Think again. Now, I know that there's going to be people. I know there are going to be people They're gonna say, "Oh, I don't like this kind of match. It's just gonna be too offensive to me. It's just too squeamish for me." Good. Don't watch it. If you know that the match is going to be on pay-per-view, why order it? If you truly feel that outrage and offended by this match coming up at Revolution tomorrow, why order the pay-per-view? Wouldn't that give you a reason to not order the pay-per-view or watch it somewhere else and turn it off when it comes on? So, listen. Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega, to me, is one of the greatest rivalries in the modern era. Period. And I do not regret saying that. I do not feel like I'm being too out of the open by saying that. I think Moxley Omega is one of the best in wrestling today. And think about how this all started. Jon Moxley came to AEW at Double or Nothing and went after who? Kenny Omega. And he said in the post-event comments that he's here to change professional wrestling. He's here to cause a paradigm shift. And now on and off, they've had their feud and rivalry. They had the Lights Out match at Full Gear that same year, which was brutal in its own way, which I might actually go back and watch before tomorrow's Revolution, by the way. But it showed you how Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega, despite being different, despite being so different in terms of characteristics and personalities and wrestling styles, they complete each other. They are the yin and yang of AEW to me. I have no doubt in my mind that they are going to make this a match to remember. Now, Omega won the title from Moxley at Winter is Coming. Omega has been trying to win that title since the inauguration of AEW and just never was able to do it. And knew that he had to beat Jon Moxley after losing to him at the Lights Out match. So he did whatever he had to do it. So he enlisted the help of Don Callis from Impact. And that started the whole AEW Impact partnership. And then things couldn't get worse. The Good Brothers show up to aid Kenny Omega, forming this kind of mini Bullet Club in AEW, if you will. And Kenny Omega, now as champion, has been trying to keep that title because he knows that Moxley will keep coming after Kenny Omega every time to get that title. He had to even enlist Kenta from New Japan to do it. But this rivalry has been phenomenal. This rivalry proves that you don't have to do a 10-month fucking rivalry between these two where they have 15 matches in between those 10 months to where by the 15th match it loses all steam, it loses all importance, it loses all drive for people to care and buy to watch. People seem to forget that just because you can tell a story that long doesn't mean they have to be engaged with each other for that long. Omega and Moxley have always been feuding indirectly, but they had their other mini stories to complete before they met again. It's the same reason why people think Cody and MJF is over. It's like, no, dude. They're having their own mini arcs right now. They're going to come back where the timing calls for it. Really learn and pay attention really what wrestling is. This is Pro Wrestling 101. But be that as that may, I expect this match to be brutal. I expect this match will offend a certain section of wrestling fans. Good. And I do expect, obviously, Kenny Omega to retain the title. If you recall, 2 weeks ago at Dynamite, Jon Moxley cut a brilliant, very good promo of the match. And if you can go back and watch it again, but it really felt like a swan song of a promo. The promo, the tone, the cadence, the wording, it really felt like we're not going to see Moxley for a minute, in AEW at least. I mean, he's still the U.S. champion in New Japan, so, I mean, you'll see him in some capacity here and there. But for the time being, Jon Moxley, this will be his swan song for a while. Obviously, with Renee being pregnant at the moment, he probably wants to take time off to really prepare for that, and how he needs to take time to probably heal himself as well. And quite frankly, there's a lot of talent in AEW to where they can pick up where John left off. So, I will say this though: if we don't get something to where Kenny Omega, like, okay, first of all, we need sirens. We need sirens. We need a timer for like a minute left, to where if none of them really beat each other, Omega leaves the ring, and then 5 seconds left, and Moxley's in the ring by himself, where the ring's about to explode, and Omega's like, "Oh shit, no, John, get out of there!" And John explodes, and that's his send-off from AEW for the time being. I think, but see, knowing how Moxley and Omega are fans of Japan and respect the culture of the death matches in Japan, I think they know what they're going to do. I think they know what they're doing, and I think they're going to provide us something special tomorrow night. And yeah, folks, that is AEW Revolution tomorrow night on pay-per-view. That is worth $50. I have paid for my event. This event deserves my money. They have done a phenomenal job building this event and hyping it up to be something very special for wrestling fans. I will be watching tomorrow night. I don't know about a newscast next week, but I might talk about it on my personal Twitter what I think about the event itself. But look out for it. It is going to be a special night for AEW. And hopefully, AEW just scored their biggest rating since December with over, I think, 930 viewers. That's a good sign. And hopefully they take that to keep momentum going forward in the aftermath of Revolution. But that is Revolution tomorrow night on pay-per-view and on Fight. So go ahead and check it out wherever you can. So let's talk about some New Japan, folks. New Japan had some events happening recently this week that I think we should probably cover and all that. Let's see here. So, for those that knew, we did have the New Japan Anniversary Special this week. Now, I won't try to really won't try to talk about every single match in this event, but I will talk about the match that I feel deserves some time to talk about. Let's see here. Let's start with the New Japan Cup match between Jeff Cobb and Satoshi Kojima. Dude, I don't know what's been in Kojima's, bread as of late, if you will, but Kojima has been on a warpath this year after having that, to me, a severely underrated match with Kenta at Wrestle Kingdom. One of the better matches of that whole card, by the way. Kojima here had a very good match with Jeff Cobb. Now, with Jeff Cobb, I had my criticism about Cobb last year. I thought his 2020 was quite underwhelming. I thought it was a bit lackluster. But, listen, I think Jeff Cobb now being a part of the United Empire with Will Ospreay and Okan and B. Priestley, apparently, I think it's given him new, revigorated interest to really do or outdo what he did in 2020. And I think he's doing a good job so far here. This match with Jeff Cobb and Kojima, really good work. Kojima shown that even as an Asian veteran, he can really showcase himself to be a threat to anybody at a moment's notice. Jeff Cobb, with the power and the just athleticism that he always carries with himself, wanted to prove something he very well did. I love this match. If Kojima's going to keep giving us great matches here and there, then I'm all for it. But Jeff Cobb wins, defeats Kojima, and advances to the New Japan Cup. And then, afterwards, we have the Great Okan versus Tetsuya Naito in the New Japan Cup as well. Now, I'll be the first to tell you that I have not been on the Okan ship, if you will. I've not been on the bandwagon for Okan, quite frankly. It's not that I hate him, it's just that I just find him not to be a truly compelling character, in my opinion, from last year. But I have to say, and quite frankly, I think a lot of people overrated his match with Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom as well. I just did not find that match to be all that entertaining or even good. Although, I will say, Okan and Tanahashi had a way better match at Castle Attack last week. And I think here with Naito, Okan had an even better match here with Naito. And the fact that Naito, throughout the whole match, was taunting Okan in his whole mannerisms. But Okan, being a silent assassin, going out to the leg throughout the entire match to where he put him in a leg lock And Naito was holding in that leg lock for about 2 minutes to where ligaments were ripping within one another, and he had to verbally quit. And the Great Khan gets a very substantial victory against Naito. It was one of the better matches of that night. I think it's still going to take some time for me to warm up to Okan, but I understand people think he is going to be a presence. He's going to be a top player for New Japan for years to come. I can get where people are saying that. For me, it's going to take a minute for me to really agree with that. But I can see the brilliances here and there of Okan with matches like this with Naito. So Okan gets a good victory. He moves on to the New Japan Cup and defeats Tetsuya Naito. And then the main event for the anniversary match, it was for the IWGP Heavyweight Intercontinental Championships. Kota Ibushi defended the title against El Desperado. And Desperado winning the Junior Heavyweight Championship at Castle Attack against El Phantasmo and Bushi. He challenged Kota Ibushi after Kota Ibushi was able to retain the Heavyweight Intercontinental titles against Naito that same night. So here you go. A fucking odyssey, a year's worth of storytelling between these two. Back in the days where they were in the Junior Heavyweight division. And now it's all coming together now with Kota being basically the god of New Japan at the moment. And El Desperado finally becoming the top of the Junior Heavyweight division, even if Hiromu is out for that. Even though Hiromu is out, which led to that happening, but it is what it is. This match here, I love this match. This match was great. Kota Ibushi and El Desperado know each other very well. Kota, you can tell throughout the entire match, was taunting and just giving hell to somebody like El Desperado, saying that he really hasn't stepped up his game for the past couple of years. And Angry Despy is somebody that I never want to cross paths with ever again. I never want to cross paths with El Desperado when he's angry. Because that man was hitting. Kota was too. But Desperado really showed a very aggressive side against Kota in this matchup. Obviously, Kota wins the match here, retains both the heavyweight and intercontinental titles, and El Desperado losing that attempt, even though still being the junior heavyweight and tag team champions. Great match, great main event, great match. I knew these two would deliver. They did, and that was my match of the night. But it looks like we might have to wait till Sakura Genesis for that to occur. I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, it's happening. The unification is happening. There's been a lot of mixed reactions to it. I don't blame you. I don't really... Look, I love the design of the heavyweight title. So that does actually irritate me that might be going away. And then the lineage between the two titles, it's going to cause a lot of people to really feel a certain type of way. But honestly, we've been into a new era of New Japan for a while. And if you're going to go all in on Kota Ibushi, this is kind of the move that you would need to do to really solidify it. Whether you like that or not, it's up to you, but it really doesn't matter. It's going to be done. And Kota will be recognized as the first IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. And that just is what that is going to be. I don't see Kota turning heel as a result of it, but, you know, if you're going to roll with Ibushi for a while, considering that Okada has some ruptured disc at the moment, Naito's been having some nagging injuries, and you don't want to go back to the evil well again, and I'm really not for Sonata winning anytime soon, then this is kind of what you have to do at the moment. So I'm not going to really fault New Japan fully on this decision. I understand why they're doing it, but I understand also why a lot of people may have some reservations for it, if you will. So I get it, okay? But kind of just get where they're coming from in that instance. But irregardless of the fact, let's talk about the New Japan Cup. Now, I did not get to witness the full show of night one. I didn't get to do all that. But I did go back to watch some things. So let's talk about the New Japan Cup matches. We don't really have to talk about everything else from both nights. But the New Japan Cup from 2021 was Yano Toru taking on Bad Luck Fale. Look, it's a Yano Fale match. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, there's really nothing to talk about here. I guess. I guess it's not. It was short at least. it didn't really affect anything in terms of the enjoyment of the cup. Toriano wins by count out. It is what it is. He moves on. There you go. There's really nothing else to say about that. Then we have Goto versus Taichi. I gotta tell you something with Taichi. Like, I've never been the biggest Taichi fan, quite frankly. Especially with now, Abe gone. But Taichi, as of late, has been delivering some strong performances. And I even noticed this during the match he had with Zack Sabre against the Gorillas at Wrestle Kingdom. Now, granted, that tag match really wasn't, to me, nothing to write about. I've seen better Gorilla matches, but I thought Taichi in particular in that match had a really strong show, and he had a really strong performance. And as of late, Taichi's been putting in work. He's just not this lip-syncing gimmick that we take it granted for. He's really improved as a in-ring talent. And this match with Goto, look, Goto, when motivated Goto is ready, he is on fire. When Goto is motivated and really willing to wrestle, he's like top 10 anywhere. These two men had a great match. These two were throwing each other back and forth. Taichi was up for the task for Goto. Goto was hitting all sorts of strikes, just laying them in thick. And it felt, and especially within about like the last third of the match, it really picked up. It really showed how much Taichi wanted this win and how much that they felt that each other had to prove here. Ultimately, Goto won the match. Taichi lost nothing in this match. He showed that he's willing and ready to fight against, the very best that New Japan has to offer. And Goto advancing, can't go wrong with Goto advancing in a New Japan Cup, if you will. Right? Then we get to the second night of New Japan, which happened, I believe, earlier this morning or earlier last night, if you will. We'll talk about the first round match of the New Japan Cup here. There we go. We had Minoru Suzuki taking on Tomokai Honma, excuse me. I always get that mixed up. This was a just old school strike as strike can matchup. You know what you're getting with Suzuki, and the fact that Suzuki wants to make noise in this cup. He wants to prove that he still has a lot in the tank. And Honma, if you know his history, if you know his career, he wants a chance to win this tournament. He wants to prove that even though he's not the man he once was decades ago, he can still give it his all if he just tried hard enough. And these two went haymaker. These two were throwing bones with each other. These two were chopping the shit out of each other at the end of the match. But Honma going after that headbutt proved to be his folly, and Suzuki was able to win the matchup. Great matchup between those two. Suzuki showing that he still has a lot left in the tank. Honma really putting out some of his best efforts in this matchup. Love this matchup. Really good stuff. Then we had the next first round match. Kenta taking on Juice Robinson. Now, I've seen Juice Robinson in a lot of wacky attire and a lot of wacky images as of the past few years watching him. This afro that he's doing is kind of up there. Like, you gotta water and brush that shit, my man. Like, what are you doing? Kenta is back now in New Japan after taking a sabbatical in the U.S. with New Japan Strong, and even having a little bit of fun in AEW with Moxley. This match was fine. Nothing really home to write about. Kenta showed that he can still play a shit-talking bully when he wants to in the ring. Juice Robinson still having that fiery underdog passion that has made him familiar with the New Japan audience. Match was fine. Nothing really great about it. Nothing you really need to go out of your way to watch, but it was fun. Kenta advances, beating Juice Robinson. Then we get to the main event of night 2 of the Cup. Shingo Takagi taking on Kazuchika Okada. Now, it's been reported earlier this week that Okada is wrestling right now with some ruptured disc right now within his shoulder. So that's somewhat of a worrisome thing to notice going into this matchup. But I have to tell you, I do have to say this. Just a great match. Dude, here's the thing, man. Shingo Takagi, there's a reason why I drafted him into my newscast draft so early in the rounds. Because, to me, Shingo, going back to the Dragon Gate era, his matches in Ring of Honor, and then here in New Japan, he's just been a consistently great worker. This guy can wrestle with just about everybody, with different styles, different shapes, different builds, different sizes. Of all spectrums, Shingo Takagi has been one of my favorite wrestlers to watch for the past couple of years. And the way that he was able to prove himself against someone of a caliber quite like Okada, perfect, great. And the fact that Shingo defeated Okada here, dude, I don't know if he's winning this whole tournament, but I'm going to assume that he's going to be a strong contender to win it all. Because this Shingo looks motivated. He looks like he has a purpose. He looks like he has something to prove. And I know Voices of Wrestling got trolled by Chris during the anniversary show. Can I get a Shingo IC title run? Well, I guess I can't get that now with the unification. All right, fine. Can I get Shingo challenge for the world title against Ibushi? Can I get that at least? Because Shingo's on fire right now. He looked great with Okada. He did not look like he was second tier against someone of greatness like Okada. Okada kept up with him in every step that he could. Great matchup. One of my favorite matches throughout this whole New Japan Cup so far. Maybe arguably my favorite match of this entire Cup. Great work from both men here. Shingo moves on. That is going to be an interesting arc for Shingo moving forward. So that's going to be interesting to see how everything goes from here. Now, as you'll see here, this upcoming, I believe tonight, if not early tomorrow. No, tomorrow. No, tonight. Duh. Actually, it'll be 10 o'clock p.m. my, 10 p.m. my time zone here in California. But it might be March 7th, late night elsewhere for you guys. But the New Japan Cup continues here. As you can see here, you got your matches set here. Gabriel Kidd will take on Zack Sabre Jr. in a first-round matchup. And then you've got Tenzan taking on Will Ospreay as well in the first round. That should be an interesting contest for both men in that predicament. Then also you've got March 9th here on Tuesday here at Okayama. It will be the first round of the New Japan Cup. Matches here that you'll see here. It'll be Yuji Nagata taking on Yota Tsuji. And then the main event will be Ishii taking on Sanada. Both first round matches. So we will see how this plays out in the next few days here in March as to who ultimately is going to win this whole thing come March 21st. So we will see. With that said, let's take you to our next matchup here, our next topic here. Stardom had a pretty big night this past couple of days, I believe on Sunday, if you will. It was the All Star Dream Cinderella event taking place at Budokan, I believe. And I got to tell you, I watched it, and I thought it was a really good show. I thought it was a show that Stardom needed to do to really push themselves as a viable company within the wrestling world, because the wrestling world is changing. I will explain briefly after this topic, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Stardom All Star Dream Cinderella, and I actually did a live watch on Discord with the Mr. Joe Matos of SCA fame. I actually stayed up late and did a live watch with him, and we were shooting the shit with amongst other people that were there, and we were talking about it, and it was an interesting kind of night, if you will. But yeah, really nothing to complain about. Maybe a few things here and there, but I'll get to it in a minute. We start with the pre-show high-speed championship match. Natsupoi of Donda Del Mondo defeated Azumi of Queen's Quest to become the new high-speed champion. A very good opener. Natsupoi and AZM able to keep up with each other, really showcase themselves to be the young upstarts, if you will, of Stardom. And Natsupoi able to pull off the championship, as I assumed that she would. I didn't think AZM had anybody else really that could take that title away from her. She's pretty much beating everybody else. So I think Poi winning here was the right call. And quite frankly, I thought it would be a Donda Del Mondo sweep anyways tonight. So it didn't surprise me. I was wrong eventually. But speaking of Donda Del Mondo, Maika and Himeka defended the Goddess of Stardom titles against Oretai of Saki and Tora. It was a tag title match. It was a match. Nothing really to write home about. I will say this: I wasn't much of a Maika fan when she appeared. I just didn't see the appeal that a lot of people did. But I have started warming up to her. Himeka's gonna take a while because I still think Himeka still needs work. But I think Maika has truly proven herself to be an improvement compared to where she was a year ago. But again, Donda Del Mondo retained the Goddess titles, expected. Then we get to the main card. The All Star Battle Royal. Okay, I'm going to try to name all these names. Forgive me if I mispronounce some of them, okay? Unagi Sayaka, B. Priestley, Chigusa Nagayo, Emi Sakura, Hiromi Minomura, Hiroyu Matsumoto, Kaori Yonemayama, Kitsutaro was there actually, Koguma, Kyoko Inoue, Lady C, Mei Hozuki, Miho Wazawa, Mima Shimoda, Mina Shirakawa, Momo Nakanishi, Rin Katakura, Ruaka, Sayaida, Starlight Kid, Yoko Bito, Yuna Manase, Yuri Haruka, and Yuzuki Aikawa. So there you go. There was a lot of moments here. I will say the All-Star Battle Royal, I can understand that people thought it was a long Battle Royal to get through. And it did feel in certain parts that it was long for the sake of being long. But honestly, ultimately, I really didn't have an issue with it. I thought it was just a fun match that brought you some nostalgia from the past Joshis in their era. And, I didn't have a problem with it. Ultimately, Unagi won the All-Star Battle Royal. I believe it was Yuzuki, Unagi, and Mina being the last three. I could be wrong. But Unagi was able to win the All-Star Battle Royal after going through her trial series where she was losing after losing. And she was able to finally justify those losses with this win here in an All-Star Battle Royal. So, good for Unagi. That bodes well for the Cosmic Angels, as we'll get to later on. Then we had a special matchup here. Nanae Takahashi taking on Momo Watanabe. So this is where the seed lining invasion happens here. Obviously, Nanae being one of the founders of Stardom, leaving to make her own company, which was seed lining. And there was a while where those two companies had a lot of beef until recently where her and Yoshiko made a surprise appearance at the end of the year and made it clear that they're here to take back what they built, basically. So, Nane and Momo, I will say this first of all, and I know Joe's on the chat. I know Joe's live on the chat here, so he'll back me up on this. Man, I said it from the jump. Seed lining ain't doing no jobs, brother. They ain't here to do no jobs. And looking at Momo's face when she came out during her entrance, it felt like it was a certain flavor of Jeff Jarrett from Bash in the Beach 2000. That's what I will say about that. But after all that bullshit, this is a fun matchup. This is a really good match, actually. I thought a lot of people kind of underrated this matchup, quite frankly. I thought this was one of the better matches of the night. Nane and Momo were just striking each other back and forth, beating the shit out of each other. Momo kicking the shit out of Nane. Nane just throwing elbows across Momo. These ladies are trying to kill each other. And that could be with a lot of off-screen beef as well. That could be inserted into this, but it provided a really good, hard-hitting matchup. Nane wins. Momo, unfortunately, still is like the least of the Queen's Quest ladies. I don't know. That depends on your perspective, but yeah. Bushiroad doesn't fuck with Momo, I guess. I don't know. That depends on what narrative you believe in, but Nane wins, and that tells me that the whole seed lining storyline is far from over. For the SWA Undisputed World Championship, it will be Syuri defending the title against Konami. This match I was looking forward to a lot. These two ladies have a lot of history, going back to the days of Reina and Wave. The fact that Syuri used to partner with the likes of Kana, who was now known as Asuka in WWE, and Hikaru Shida of AEW fame, and Konami being someone that trained under Kana until Kana, without warning by the way, which was real actually, Kana leaving WWE for more money and did not give Konami any inclination that she was leaving her behind here in Japan. And Konami has held that grudge. She has held that dissension, that resentment for Kana, and that's probably ultimately why she joined Odeya Tai after the dissolvement of Tokyo Cyber Squad. This match here I was looking forward to. I thought this would be one of the best matches of the night, and it was solid. It was even getting to be good, and then it just ended. I don't know if the All-Star Battle Royal maybe took a lot of time from certain matches that maybe needed it more, but this match to me went short. I know a lot of people will argue that it was the right timing. For a match like this, with the history that these two ladies had, whether they will continue this feud or not, it doesn't matter to me. I feel like with an event like this, an important event like this, I feel that this match should have went a little longer than it did. Because I think it prevented it from really... It was starting... To me, it was picking up. It was shifting into another gear. And then it just ended with the armbar. With the muffler. And Syuri retains. Konami, if you were watching throughout that match, did not want any help from Odeya Tai. And even embraced Syuri after the matchup. Excuse me. So that might start the whole dissension, possibly, of Konami leaving Odeya Tai, which I would be all for, by the way. I will say that, because Konami is one of the better talents of Stardom, to me, in my opinion, and I think there should be more done with her. And I think Odeya Tai, even though she had a run with B as Goddess Tag Champions, I think Konami's worth more, can do more, quite frankly. So we'll see if this rivalry with Syuri going forward will bring that out with her. But, again, a solid match, but it could have been really better. Next matchup, Mayu Iwatani taking on Yoshiko. This match has been built up for a lot of years. 10 years, in fact. Maybe 11 years, quite frankly. Again, like I said, with the Nane Momo match, Yoshiko was one of the founding pillars of Stardom until the whole Act incident, obviously. Until she and Nane formed Seed Lining. And Yoshiko has been rehabilitating her image throughout the years from that incident. And I know a lot of people, when Yoshiko and Nane came back to Stardom at the end of the year last year, I read it. I even got responses from my tweets when I was excited about it, that people were just not over the whole thing with Act, even though I believe Act and Yoshiko have forgiven each other since that event. I think they put that they've put the they won't let me put it this way. They're not going to send Christmas cards to each other or anything like that, but they have forgiven each other and have put that behind them and now have moved on from it. Do you get what I'm saying? So if they can move on from it, I expect a lot of people should, considering that you guys are fans anyways. It's not like you guys are the ones being attacked here. If Act can move forward, a lot of you should be able to as well. But be that as that may, Yoshiko came in. Mayu was celebrating her 10th year anniversary with Stardom as well, so this is very important to her that she had this match with Yoshiko. I love this match. This match, I believe, to me, was my match of the night. I think this match, to me, is my match of the night. I love this match. No bullshit. You know the history between the two. You know their motives within this match. They were hitting. Mayu almost killing herself with a dive there in the early stages of the match. That was scary. That was creepy. Yoshiko just laying in those elbows, really just kicking her, really just destroying her. By the way, Yoshiko looking more slimmer here in this matchup than any other match I've seen in recent years, by the way. But Mayu was able to defeat Yoshiko. I thought Yoshiko would win because, like I said, seed lighting don't do no jobs, brother. That didn't work for me, brother. But because it is Mayu, I think Yoshiko was fine to do the job here. And quite frankly, it was the right decision anyways. After that, they had an embrace. Two friends that started in the same class in Stardom, that was a part of the same year within Stardom, as Joseph even made clear on the live chat. Now they are able to move forward now. So, it seems like to me that with Mayu defeating Yoshiko, but not main eventing this event, and then Nane defeating Momo, I guess, it feels like an era of Stardom has ended, and we're now really getting into a new era of Stardom, as these last two matches will tell you, as I'm about to address here. For the World of Stardom Championship, it was Utami Hayashita taking on Saya Kamitani, defending the title. Now, there's been a lot of mixed reactions with Utami's title reign as the World of Stardom champion. Look, I understand, I guess. Like, she's not Io, right? She's not Mayu, I guess. Right? I get all the comparisons people are making. But I haven't hated it. Like, I'm not saying she's the greatest World of Stardom champion. I'm not saying that, but I think she, as someone that is being regarded as the new ace of Stardom, it was fine. It's been fine. I think she had a match with Micah, which actually made me turn around for Micah as someone that I can actually get behind. They had a good match, you know. Her match with Momo was really good as well. I think Utami's been doing a formidable job, quite frankly. I think a lot of people need to kind of back up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, this matchup here, Saya, I said on Twitter that this match will determine what Saya we get here. Will we get a reckless Saya that is just going to completely just get her shit in and just disregard the flow of a match? Or are we going to get a Saya that actually is focused, determined, and actually wants to prove something? We got the latter, and it made for a great match. It made for a really good matchup here. Again, it wasn't my match of the night. That went to Mayu Yoshiko, but I thought for a World of Stardom Championship match for this type of event, it was fine. I think Utami, this is one of her better title defenses that she's had. And, yeah, I thought these two, who have known each other very well, they're both from the Queen's Quest faction, I thought these two had a very formidable and very good World of Stardom Championship matchup. So Utami eventually does win against Saya, retaining the title. Then B. Priestley came out afterwards and made the challenge that she's next in line. I guess that's where we're going with this. I really don't expect B to defeat her or anything like that. I guess that's going to happen in Yokohama, where these two will have their match, but I expect Utami to retain there. I expect Utami to have a pretty lengthy title reign, quite frankly. So, be that as it may, that is what's going to happen. Then, the main event. The main event that, quite frankly, drew all the buzz and attention more than anything else in this event. It's a hair versus hair match for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. Tom Nakano taking on Julia. Or Gilia, for people that want to get on my case. So, if you recall, these two had their match, I believe, in July last year. I wasn't particularly all that much of a fan of it. Sorry, I just kind of thought it was overrated. I don't know what people praised it for. I thought it was overrated, quite frankly. This match was better. This match was better. Again, I said on Twitter, the match quality is not going to matter for this match at all. Because it is what it is. It's going to matter about the execution and the aftermath. That's all that this match is about. Period. Irregardless, though, I thought Gilia had one of her best matches, quite frankly, in a while. Now, if you know me, I'm not a fan of her. Don't give a fuck. I'm not a fan of Gilia. Just not. She's not even the best in Don Mondo. Don't care. That goes to Siri, by the way. But I will say, and I am a fair man, she has improved compared to the last year. She definitely has improved. There are certain faults she still does have, but they are starting to become lesser and lesser compared to, say, last year. And Tam, for all her efforts as well, she really showed that she is somebody that should be taken serious as a serious competitor, and to try to get away from that whole idol character that she's always been about in recent years. These two had a hard-hitting match. These two had a match that there was a lot on the line, obviously. That table spot was crazy. Outside. I will say I did not have a prediction. I did not know who was going to win this match. I really didn't know who was going to win. I just didn't know. But it seemed there were times that Tam might lose, and I was thinking, wow, a bald Tam, how is that going to work? But eventually, Tam was able to defeat Giulia and is now the new Wonder of Stardom champion. I think that was a solid main event. I won't shit on it completely. It wasn't better than Mayu and Yoshiko. To me, it wasn't better than Utami and Saya, in my opinion. Nane Momo was better, but I think for what it delivered in the main event, it was more than fine. Tam wins. That was the right decision. She's now the Wonder of Stardom champion. Now that she can start making her own lineage with that title. And then the aftermath, basically, as Giulia was breaking down crying, and Tam couldn't even really cut her hair, but eventually, Giulia got her hair cut, at least half of it, in the ring. And then there was a clip on Twitter afterwards where they shaved her entire head bald or gave her a slight buzz cut, whatever. But nonetheless, that was Stardom. All Star Cinderella. I would recommend it. I thought it was a show that Stardom needed. I thought it was a show that Stardom did a good job with to really introduce a lot of new fans, a lot of international fans that are not familiar with Joshi, to the whole Joshi culture of the modern era. I think, to me, frankly, the AEW Women's Tournament and the Stardom show here really has cemented Joshi as a viable attraction for a lot of international fans. And hopefully people do more deep dives with Joshi, not just with Stardom, or not just with the AEW Joshis that are brought in for Dynamite or other things for AEW. There's Ice Ribbon, there's Wave, there's Oz, there's Tokyo Joshi, okay? Assemble just got put up with Akira Hokuto. There's a lot of other projects and companies out there that if you are a new fan of Joshi, I implore you to really check out if you have the chance and time to do so. It's very, very important. But, again, they nailed it out of the park, in my opinion. Now, give me 1 second. All right, I'm good. Now, let's talk about something that's been on my mind recently. As you know, right? As you know, we are having some sort of wrestling civil war at the moment right now. And you're a fool at this point to think we're not in a wrestling civil war. It's blatantly obvious. Like, again, I stated on the last newscast, look around you. Have you noticed the tension in the air when it comes to wrestling at the moment? As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and switch gears. Let me go ahead and show you something here. Kenny Omega did an interview with the Bleacher Report, I believe today or yesterday, and I want to get to this particular section that he talked about here. There you go. Omega was asked this question about the relationships with Impact and New Japan, right? Here's what he said. I sit back and look at the various rosters around the world. There isn't one where they have amassed all the world's top talent. Whether you go to Impact or New Japan Pro Wrestling or WWE, Ring of Honor, MLW, there is always going to be at least one person who can be a star anywhere. Speaking as a performer, it's great to have an opportunity to go to these places and work with these top talents. Omega has been linked to other former Bullet Club members, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. We have already seen cross-promotional matches take place, and he expects more to come. When you're a part of a big promotion, you're restricted, for lack of a better term, Omega said. With us working with Impact, New Japan, and AAA, we now have limitless possibilities as to what kind of matches we can make and stories we can develop. It's an exciting time for the wrestlers and hopefully for the fans too. And that is part of what AEW, or Kenny Omega and AEW basically have said about the partnerships. Actually, let me show you one other more topic here from that interview, by the way. I want to point this out as well. This one's about, will we ever see a super show? That would be like WWE and AEW and New Japan and Impact and all that stuff. The AEW champion spoke about the possibility of seeing this become a reality and what it would take to make it happen. Omega said, I don't think anything is out of the realm of possibility. At the end of the day, all it takes is for everyone to set aside ego and make it happen. Once you start involving dollar figures, that's when things get complicated. If there is a will, there is certainly a way to do it. I don't know if we will get to a point where every company will work together, but we are closer than ever to making something like that happen. We have made strides towards this becoming a conversational topic. So, Kenny Omega feels confident, basically, that a super show or a true cross-promotional show could happen in this new era of wrestling. Is he right? Yeah, he could be. But I will go back and hearken to what Jon Moxley said days ago or weeks ago at a Sports Illustrated interview. He basically said, in terms of a partnership with AEW, he said that's never going to happen. People shouldn't even put any thought into that energy. It's not going to happen. And I ultimately agree with it, quite frankly, because here's the deal. If the day ever occurs that AEW and WWE do a super show or partnership, it's never going to be 50-50. It can't be with those two companies. Because either WWE will have to play ball and actually be in accordance with AEW and what they want to do, which isn't going to happen, or Tony Khan is going to basically have to bend the knee, quote-unquote, if you will, to the Vinces and Triple H's to make this partnership work, which he also isn't going to do. And quite frankly, as a fan, I mean, yeah, you might get your dream matches between the two rosters, but other than that, I don't want to see a partnership between those two. I just think it would be bad for both companies, and I think it would just be a way for WWE to try to coerce AEW to be in their world other than it being a level playing field, in my opinion. I think it would suck, quite frankly. And I don't think AEW should entertain the idea unless WWE is truly genuine to doing one, which they're not going to. I don't care what type of spin or corporate BS Triple H or Stephanie or Vince say about it. It's not going to happen the way people think it's going to happen. But I will say this, and I said this on the previous newscast, if I recall. I did say that I do think maybe, and I could be wrong, it might not be this year, and it might not be this event, but I do believe that All Out this year will be an interpromotional super show. I think you might get I think you will get Impact and AAA and New Japan talents for All Out, and that's just going to be an interpromotional match all throughout across the board. Now, maybe not for AEW All Out. Maybe you might do a special event, maybe for its own kind of, match with all those things, but I do expect that to happen. I do see that happening. Now, as we all know, we are in a war. And I'm tired of people acting like we're not in a war. It's not the Monday Night Wars, I get that, but we are in a civil war. And it's really no denying it at this point, unless you truly are the biggest naive people in the world. As you all know, NXT is moving to Tuesday nights after WrestleMania this year. Now, I know people are going to say, well, it's really because they're bringing in hockey and baseball and all that. Nah. Let's be honest with ourselves here. For the majority of this entire quote-unquote Wednesday Night Wars, who has been dominating the demo and ratings throughout this entire back and forth between NXT and AEW? That would be AEW. And I know that I'm right on this because there's a lot of, and there's really no other nice way to say this, but there are dum-dums out there, true idiots out there, that will argue disingenuously that NXT was on Wednesdays first. Okay. I'm going to only say this one time. Clip this if you have to, but I'm only going to say this one time. At this point forward, anyone that tries to argue that with me is getting blocked on Twitter because I'm tired of people wasting my time without context here. Yes, NXT was on Wednesday nights first on the WWE Network. Okay? Following me here? Good. AEW is announced as a thing, and there's rumblings that either Tuesdays or Wednesdays would be the night that AEW would have their show on TNT. AEW announced that they will be doing a primetime show on TNT, but because they cannot be on Mondays due to Tony Khan's commitment to the NFL, they cannot do Thursdays and Tuesdays due to NBA priorities on TNT. Fridays because of SmackDown, and because Saturday is a death slot. Wednesdays was the only viable and reasonable night to where Dynamite could take place. On network television. Sorry, not even network television. On cable. Well, it's duh. Cable television. NXT, all of a sudden, moves to the USA Network weeks after this announcement. So yes, NXT was on Wednesdays first, unopposed, on a subscription-based service like the WWE Network. But when AEW announces that they are the ones who are going to TNT on Wednesday nights, it still wasn't a direct competition between AEW and NXT because one is for a cable provider and one is for a subscription-based service. It only became a direct competition between the two when NXT all of a sudden decides to not only move NXT to Wednesday nights on the USA Network, but at 5 p.m. Pacific, the same time as Dynamite on TNT. So for all you drones and dumbasses out here that are always trying to neglect that whole point, that whole context of this whole situation, now you know. For anyone that tries to keep arguing that, they need to not be taken seriously anymore, if they ever were in the first place. Because now that NXT is moving to Tuesday nights, well, hey, Impact was on Tuesday nights first on Access. Now they're moving to Tuesday nights. So maybe they're being direct competitors to Impact Wrestling, right? Right? What a bunch of sheep that will defend this company for free on Twitter and everywhere else on social media. A company that continues to insult them with the mediocre product that they continue to offer you. And then you have the nerve to come to someone like me that's telling you what it is and others like me, and you have the nerve to get high and mighty. Let me get something straight with you people here. The same people that did everything that they could to undermine WCW, and it only worked because WCW, through their own failings, they went under. ECW, the same reason. Bought them out during a post-2001 Monday Night Wars world in wrestling. You drones, for a decade and a half, have been comfortable being this narcissistic, this disingenuous, and this petty with any other company that's even a modicum of a threat to your precious Fed. If it wasn't WCW, it was TNA. And if it wasn't TNA, it was Lucha Underground. If it wasn't Lucha Underground, it was ROH. And now that New Japan is starting to finally get some traction as an international power, and now that AEW is a thing now, you have the nerve to stand here and say, well, AEW and New Japan, they attack us, so that's not fair. Just shut up. Shut the hell up. Get good. Am I supposed to be sympathetic for a company that purposely put Survivor Series on the same night as a Clash of the Champions or a Starrcade back in the 80s? Am I supposed to be sympathetic for a company that would have the same event on the same city as WCW would have the next day, but would simply be there longer and take longer to get their production packed up, so that way it would take longer for WCW to set theirs up the next night on the same city? Am I supposed to be sympathetic of the same company that was mediocre as shit, even though I did grow up with the New Generation era, was giving you a mediocre product back then in 1995 and 1996, to where WCW took advantage of it and bought out some of your best talents and actually put them in a better place where they were getting paid the most, to where WCW Nitro was kicking your ass for 82 weeks. Am I supposed to be sympathetic for a company that didn't even allow Kairi Hojo to be in attendance for the Stardom 10th anniversary, even though she's not even wrestling for your fucking company at this moment? Am I supposed to be sympathetic for a company that released how many dozens of people during a pandemic last year and didn't promise them any type of furlough to come back? Some did come back, but not all of them. Am I supposed to be sympathetic for a company that went to Saudi Arabia over a blood money deal for a certain theocracy over in Saudi Arabia that was just now proven within a official document that they were the ones that killed that journalist over in Saudi Arabia months before WWE made the deal? No, I'm not sympathetic for a company that treats their talent, that treats their staff, that treats the wrestling industry, and that treats their fans like total shit. And the fucked up thing about this, the thing about this too, is here's a company in AEW that is trying to do right. I'm not saying they're perfect, and I'm not saying they're always right either, dum-dums. I'm saying that this is a company that is trying to do their damnedest to really be something for a wrestling world that is changing, whether fans and drones like it or not. New Japan is out here providing you sports-based presentation to where wrestling fans are starting to discover it these past couple of years. And you people have the nerve to shit on these companies and wish them nothing but failure, so that way your precious company continues to monopolize the business and continues to throw this company down in the shitter while they keep making record profits? Go fuck yourself. I am emphatically impressed how much this company can make this much compromised propaganda against their fans, to where they can come out here and always talk shit for other fans that just want to see good wrestling. They just want a wrestling product that doesn't insult them, that makes them proud to be a wrestling fan. And here you feds, here you drones are, because you have to defend your mediocre ass product, because you have to defend what the fuck kind of creative that they do for your talent that you want to wish to have great matches. Here you are shitting on AEW. Here you are shitting on Impact. Here you are shitting on New Japan. You people have been comfortable for a decade and a half. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And I will make no apologies for it. I absolutely love it that there is a fan base that will continue to always be non-WWE that will bite back against your bullshit. It's kind of fun to me. It's kind of entertaining in a way. And here you are. AEW does this women's tournament. Shows a lot of Joshi. And here comes the rumors of NXT Japan. It's not a coincidence. It's like you do this on purpose because you're scared of losing your grip in the wrestling world that is changing right before your very eyes. Let me read something here from... I found this tweet here. Let me go ahead and find it here. Tweeted this earlier this week. Here you go. At Elite Clips. Emi Sakura apparently did an interview, I believe with Rossi of Stardom on the Choco Pro Live channel, but basically she wants to start an AEW Japan. That would be a show that kind of follows the same setup as a tournament and wants Excalibur as a person on commentary. And there would be more matches from Japan, and she would love to book more matches in Japan with AEW production. And if I go down here further, she says, Sakura wants us to keep the people we've seen recently connected with AEW and the fans. This would basically be like AEW Dark. She's not trying to start a new promotion in Japan. She has that already with Choco Pro and got to move. That this would not compete with New Japan or Stardom. So there you go. You know, AEW does a phenomenal job with this tournament, producing talent from the U.S. and Japan. And all of a sudden, there's talk of NXT Japan. There's talk of Maiko Satomura from Sendai signs with NXT UK, even though she loses the fucking NXT UK Women's title match against Kaylee Ray. She's the final boss till she loses her second match. And then now you have NXT rumors now. Now, Kairi Sane was at the Stardom 10th anniversary backstage. Heaven forbid she couldn't do a fucking appearance for the show because of Vince and WWE. But she was there. And you have to assume, as much as it might suck, you have to assume that Kairi was possibly doing some recruiting down there. Even though she's not wrestling in WWE anymore, she is still contractually obligated with WWE as an ambassador for Japan. And it would not surprise me if Kairi was scouting. Like, look, at the same time, I could see a Julia going to WWE one day. I'm not saying anytime soon, don't get me wrong, but she's tailor-made for what the WWE looks for in a female wrestler. I could see a Mina in WWE, quite frankly. I even could see a Himeka and Micah, if you want to be honest. I see certain talent from Stardom that, yeah, they would be WWE made, or quite frankly, would be AEW made too. Now, as Mr. Montos posted on a live chat, and I agree with it, a lot of promotions did say no to an NXT Japan. I know that there was All Japan, there was Wrestle One before they closed down. I know Ice Ribbon was probably contacted. Sendai Girls with Michael Connection were probably all approached. I mean, Stardom, obviously, with Rossi. They're all approached to using their roster to start an NXT Japan brand, and they all said no. And yeah, it's going to be hard. This is not the UK. Japan are not wrestling cucks compared to the UK. This is not going to be where WWE can entice a bunch of marks running a promotion in the UK, and then all of a sudden, WWE can just use and buy out the Progresses and the ICWs and the WXWs from the UK, and then they can close them if they don't see any use for them anymore. Completely wiped out the British wrestling scene. A lot of people say that the speaking out movement was the death nail of the British wrestling scene, and maybe that might be true to a point, but it was already getting there anyways. The speaking out movement just only accelerated that matter anyways. British wrestling under the WWE stronghold was dying. And Japan is a different culture, different country, different set of rules, different set of morals. It's not going to be the same. And now they're figuring out that you can't just buy out a promotion or promise them certain things. I think I even recall Triple H personally promised Rossi a fucking spot. He promised Rossi a spot. I can't say it with a straight face. He promised Rossi a spot in his fucking WWE Hall of Fame if he was able to acquire some form of control of Stardom. Oh my god. What a fucking geek, dude. Triple H, I know Vince gets a lot of flack and he deserves it, but Triple H is somebody that people think he's going to change things in the WWE. He's cut from the same Connecticut cloth from the McMahons. He ain't changing shit. I cannot believe he actually did that. But Triple H ain't changing shit. Have you watched NXT? I don't watch it. But I can just tell from certain clips that I do watch and keep tabs of, he ain't doing shit. He doesn't know how to book a babyface at all. He's got Io Shirai down there. He doesn't know how to book her as a babyface. Until now, that's only because of Io's talent, not because of Triple H. Triple H had fucking Kairi Hojo, an easy babyface to be for a company, and fucking wasted her to be a Kabuki warrior. Fuck. And look, I want it to be known. I'm going to be doing my humble brag here, folks. I was calling out Triple H before a lot of motherfuckers out here that are doing it now. We're doing it. Back when the Revival and American Alpha matches were happening, back when Asuka was coming into NXT, back when the Four Horsemen were running the show, back when fucking Finn Balor and Samoa Joe and Shinsuke Nakamura was coming in here, I was sounding the alarms on this newscast. Okay? I was seeing the cracks form. And I know I'm not the only one. I know that others were doing it too. But I'm just saying that I was seeing the cracks form on this NXT ship before motherfuckers finally figured out that NXT truly isn't as great as people make it out to be. The only reason why NXT is still getting some sort of leeway is because of the takeovers. They actually do perform to the standards. But otherwise, NXT is mediocre. It's overrated. And every time it gets its ass whooped by AEW most Wednesdays, that's why. There's a certain form of energy that AEW has that NXT does not have. Look at what they're doing next week. They're doing fucking Finn Balor versus Adam Cole in an NXT World Title match when you could save that for your fucking TakeOver card, which you're doing for 2 nights anyways during WrestleMania week. So why not just have Finn Balor and Adam Cole there? And the winner meets Kyle O'Reilly the next night. And then look at this. You got the women's title for Io Shirai taking on Toni Storm. Another TakeOver match you could be doing for WrestleMania week. But because Triple H doesn't know how to book, and that is true. Triple H does not know how to book. He's overrated. Because Triple H does know how to book, and because Triple H doesn't know how to use characters, and tries to use Band-Aids to cover up bullet wounds. This is what he does. They're moving anyways to NXT to Tuesday nights. I don't know why you're still trying to counteract and try to counter-program against AEW. Why? Because we're going to have an AEW Dynamite the week after Revolution, so you have to counteract with that? It just sounds desperate, and that's what it is. And don't be fooled by people saying NXT's moving to Tuesdays because of the NBC network closing. No, if NXT and WWE had the capital in the USA network that they do have, they would have found a way to negotiate the fact they can stay on Wednesday nights, except if it's a important like final or an important event for NHL or baseball to where they have to have Wednesday nights and they get preempted for a Tuesday. Fine, but because the USA Network knows the deal with NXT and the numbers they've been pulling with the demos, and the fact that AEW is whooping their ass, TNT is whooping their ass on Wednesday nights, and now that the NBA Sports Network is closed, guess what? Baseball, soccer, and yes, hockey take priority over WWE. That's never ever been hidden from anything else. So, of course, they were going to be good business partners and move to Tuesday nights. This is a retreat. Do not let any drones, do not let any smooth brains, do not let any let's have wrestling positivity type of people tell you otherwise. This is a retreat. They are banking on the final NXT on Wednesday nights to do a high number, maybe even beat AEW Dynamite. So that way they can have a excuse to say, well, we're doing so good on Wednesdays, we want to do so great on Tuesdays as well, so we're going to move to Tuesdays. It's like when TNA back in 2010 when they went on Monday nights to go against Raw, were failing and were doing badly against WWE Raw. So they try to justify the fact that we've heard the noises, we've heard the reports, we've heard the cries, and we're going to listen to the fans. We're moving back to Thursdays. We're moving back to Thursdays because we got our asses handed to us by WWE Raw on Mondays. We're moving back to Thursdays. This is what this is. Except WWE is more smarter than TNA. They are banking on that final Wednesday with NXT to be a ratings grabber to where it could possibly even beat AEW Dynamite that night, so that they can have an excuse to not make it look like a retreat. But do not get it confused. Do not let it speak for your own self. This is a retreat. Okay? The writing was on the wall. They saw what it was. They were not about to go through another year of AEW whipping their ass on Wednesdays. This is a retreat, and they found an excuse to make it seem it's anything but. Period. Absolutely period. That's where we're at with Japan. You know, New Japan Pro Wrestling, it's finally made its alliances with AEW, and in particular Impact Wrestling. If people know about the history between New Japan and Impact Wrestling, you never thought that would happen. But it is happening. New Japan now has partnered with AEW and Impact Wrestling. By the way, if you watched Impact Wrestling this past week during one of those AEW paid ads, even Tony Khan alluded to the fact that Impact Wrestling are one of us. New Japan is one of us. We all got to collide and come together to push back against the enemy, the true enemy. That's basically what Tony Khan said on Impact this past Tuesday. And I agree with him. The WWE is a monopolistic company that is looking to play gotta catch 'em all with talent and trying to make fans be programmed and conditioned to think that WWE wrestling is the only wrestling that exists and that's the only wrestling that matters. They've been doing it for a decade, 2 decades even, maybe even 3 decades if you want to be honest. But the wrestling world is changing, and and companies like New Japan and AEW are leading that change. And WWE have to play catch up, or they will. I'm not saying they're going to die, but they will be left behind in some capacity. But I do believe Japan will be the next battlefront. I do believe Japan is going to be an important piece of the chess game between WWE and everybody else that are trying to push back against it. We are in a civil war in professional wrestling right now. I keep saying it, and I will continue to say it. I don't care if you get offended or if you get annoyed by it. I'm going to keep saying it because that is what is happening. We are in a wrestling civil war. Shit is bubbling. Shit is changing. Things are happening in real time. And only you are a fool to think otherwise. So we'll see how this development will go, but it's clearly happening. And with that, we get to our questions and answer section. We've been doing this for 2.5 hours. There goes me saying we were going to condense this. I knew it was too good to be true. But yeah, send me your questions in the live chat, and I will go ahead and answer them. If I don't get to your question, just keep posting it on the live chat until I get to it. So I'll go ahead and give you guys a couple of moments to get your questions and comments in, and we will talk about them. I will say this while I wait for your questions and comments as well, that the next newscast, the next proper newscast will be for WrestleMania week. The next proper newscast will be a WrestleMania week newscast. We will do predictions about I will have special guests, if you will. This will not be me doing my newscast alone. I will have special guests coming into the newscast, and we will talk about WrestleMania, the matches going into the show, and what it'll mean for the future of WWE going forward. We'll talk about all that on the newscast. But that doesn't mean that'll be the next episode of the newscast. The next episode of the newscast, we did have a newscast draft. I know a lot of you remember that, so we will be finally putting together a match card for our first event for the newscast draft league, I guess, or whatever. If you still have your draft picks from that episode, pull them up and we will compare cards. If you didn't do a draft pick, or if you didn't do any draft picks for that episode, you can use my draft picks that I did, and we can put together cards together and all that. But that will be hopefully, I believe, I want to say maybe 2 weeks from tonight, 2 weeks from now, maybe. But that's what we'll be doing. So we'll have a episode 108.5 with the match card for the draft, and then episode 109 will be the WrestleMania week newscast. So, anyways, let's get to your questions here on the live chat here. Let's see. How come Space Jam Legacy just controversially shamed Lola Bunny's design? Look, I'm not a fan of it either, quite frankly. I think the reasoning behind it is stupid. The fact that people are saying that the new Lola design is more independent and more strong for a female character. It's like, dude, Lola was arguably the best player next to Michael Jordan in that Space Jam movie back in '96. What the fuck are you talking about? Why? Just because Lola Bunny looked a little sexier than most cartoon characters, that she wasn't independent, she wasn't strong, she wasn't talented? That is the society that we're in today, unfortunately. Just a bunch of people bored, worrying about first world problems when they need to focus on other issues that are important. Old-fashioned question, how are you? I'm doing fine. I'm currently working on AEW Excel 108, I believe it is. I know it was supposed to come out this week, but too many things I was putting together and other things that I was doing off ACW and just in real life in general prevented me from doing it. So, so I wasn't able to get Excel out this week. Next week it will be out, though. I will have it out next week. I won't promise what day that'll be or what dates that'll be, but it'll be out next week, though. So we'll try to get back into the business of things. Obviously, High Voltage will be out this month in March, hopefully. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm doing fine. Question, Hakeem. How do you feel about heel Apollo Crews? I love it. I love the gimmick. Now, for those that probably have not known me for a long while, I am of Nigerian descent, more specifically of Igbo descent. I have been to Nigeria before, and I plan to go back there sometime, someday. But I went back there during high school and with my family, and it's a beautiful place, by the way. But as a Nigerian, you can't not love this new character for Apollo Crews. Now, I will say this because I did watch the promo he did last week, and then I watched the promo he did last night. He needs to drop the accent, and not because it's bad. It's not. It's actually a good accent the way he's doing it. But with this current company in WWE, they will look at somebody like Apollo Crews with that accent and look at him as some sort of comedy character. They'll look at somebody like him as a comedy act with that kind of character. And I don't want Apollo Crews to be succumbed to that type of behavior. Quite frankly, him being a heel in this character is even more eye-rolling than anything. But I like it, though. I do like it. I thought he cut a really good promo last week. This week was a little bit not as much better than last week, but I do like this character. I do love it. If you look around sports today, if you haven't noticed, us Nigerians are kind of running shit right now. Whether it's combat sports, whether it's baseball, whether it's football, and now even in wrestling, not just with Apollo Crews, but with Moose too. Moose is Nigerian. So I like the Apollo Crews character. Hopefully they do something with it. I would not mind him being an Intercontinental Champion because the word Intercontinental would fit his character. Quite frankly, I wouldn't mind it. I mean, if you're not going to do anything serious with Big E, then why waste time thinking that you're going to? Do you think this wrestling civil war is a good thing or a bad thing? What do you think will happen in the future because of this? To me, personally, I think the civil war, it's a good thing in the sense that fans now have options. They have ways of watching wrestling. It's not just one distinct and definitive promotion to get all your wrestling all at once. Now you have ways, you have chances, you have options to watch whatever wrestling you're a fan of or whatever wrestling is for your taste. I feel like this was coming ahead anyways. It's done so a couple times here and there with the likes of Lucha Underground TNA, but unfortunately, through their own bad business strategies, they were not able to get to this length as AEW has. And New Japan, quite frankly. But yeah, I think this is good for the industry. It creates buzz, it creates excitement, it creates intrigue as to what can happen. I think in the future, here's what I think. I think in the future, one of these philosophies are going to dictate the next era of wrestling. I don't know which one it is. All I know is that as this world of wrestling is changing, we have two philosophies battling out to see who's going to be the leader of this next era of wrestling. Who wins that? Who knows? But one of them are going to win. Do you believe that the face-heel dynamic is outdated? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it's not you, Jacob, but I do want to address this though. I am sick and tired of people in wrestling, people in CAW, trying to make excuses of heel faces not resonating with modern wrestling fans. That's bullshit to me. That's defeatism. That's laziness, quite frankly, when people say that. I feel that if you have a compelling story, and if you have characters that can fit that story, and can give you a payoff that will be endearing and satisfying at the end, then a villain and a hero is going to be required for that to happen. Maybe not a traditional villain or hero in the sense of fairy tales and all that, but I do believe that you need a protagonist and an antagonist. Now, you can have those heroes and villains, you can have those babyface and heels be multidimensional, and quite frankly, you need them to be multidimensional compared to maybe the cartoonish aspect of it of the WWF back in the 80s. But heels and faces definitely do have a role in wrestling and CAW or virtual wrestling or whatever the hell you want to call it. Because at the end of the day, wrestling is a morality play. Wrestling challenges your morals and beliefs with every story and with the talent every time they wrestle. So, you're either in this situation good or bad. You're either a hero or a villain. You're either a babyface or a heel. The only reason why people try to ask this question, and I'm not targeting you, Jacob, it's not your fault, but the only reason why people still ask this question is because for years, the WWE have made it their due diligence to make sure that wins and losses don't matter, that stories don't have to be continued to make sense, and that babyfaces and heels are no longer a thing in wrestling. But I will say this, it's not just WWE as well, it is AEW, because I remember Cody mentioning this as well, about heels and faces not exist anymore. And he's full of shit too with that as well. Because, to me, if you don't have somebody that you're emotionally invested in as a hero or villain, or a babyface or a heel, then why are you watching the match? Why are you paying money to watch this match if there's no emotional investment behind it? Why? For a match? Then watch NCAA wrestling. Watch jiu-jitsu or watch boxing if you want that. Pro wrestling is athletic Shakespeare. That's never been hidden. That's never been, disputed. Is it a true sport? No, it isn't. But it is a sport in the sense that it requires athletic ability. So with wrestling being basically an athletic soap opera or athletic Shakespeare, soap operas and Shakespeare plays have villains and heroes. They have baby faces and heels. Unfortunately, a section of wrestling fans have been conditioned to think that these things don't matter, and that's completely wrong to me. Obviously, if you know me with ACW, I clearly disagree with this question. Because I feel that heels and faces play an important part to whatever story you want to convey to the viewers watching your product or your league or your company or whatever. Sometimes you can have complex characters that you don't know if they are heroes or faces. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're tweeners. That's another term that I'm sick and tired of hearing, by the way. They're not tweeners. They're not cool heels, therefore they're tweeners. That's not how it works. A villain can be a hero in a certain situation and then go back to being a villain. That's just you changing composition. That doesn't mean you're a tweener. So, irregardless, maybe one day I'll talk more in depth about it with this whole question, but that's what I believe in. I do believe heels and faces exist in pro wrestling to this day, and there are heels and faces that are vital in professional wrestling. And the fact that we don't emphasize that enough is part of the reason why wrestling is in the shape it's in, quite frankly. Let's see here. The fan base will eventually realize the WWE status quo isn't the way to go anymore. The thought process will change for the better with AEW and New Japan leading the charge in the Civil War. Yeah. Yeah, basically. Yeah. Whether WWE... Yes, WWE will make record profits. Yes, they're still the number one wrestling promotion in the world. All that's true. But that does not change the fact that the wrestling world's changing, and whether WWE wants to be a part of that or not is up to them, but they will reap or sow the benefits or failures of what they will do if they don't join that said world. So, all right, are you caught up with anything like CAW, anime, video games, etc.? I did watch DCA Revelations. I was there to watch live. I was there to watch Night 1 live. Night 2, I watched some things from it, but I had to watch it later because, I had other things I was doing. But DCA Revelations came out, I believe, 2 weeks ago or so. And if you guys have not seen it yet, go ahead and check it out. It was probably arguably their best work they've ever done for that company, that league. They've done a great job. I can't thank everybody that was behind that mega event, but they did a very good job with that event. They have to be credited for it. Go ahead and watch it if you haven't already. But yeah, the usual colleagues that I do follow, I usually do watch still. Anime, I mean, shit hasn't changed. I still follow animes like Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen, ReZero, Kanoto, the one that's new this season, Back Arrow, which is a decent mecha, and just for intrigue's sakes, not that it's a great anime, but it's just for the intrigue's sakes, but redo of Healer is some wild shit. I'm gonna be honest with you, that is crazy, but that's what I'm following. And oh yeah, Promised Neverland as well, but I have not watched the new episodes this week, so I need to really get into that. I need to watch those new episodes as soon as possible. I really do. Don't spoil anything, by the way, on this chat, by the way. No spoilers. Let's see here. Do you feel bad for Kota Ibushi with the backlash he's probably getting with the title unification situation? I kind of do. It's just... I kind of do. Ibushi's not even asking for all this backlash. It's just that he's now the guy that they're going with to be leading to this new charge of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he's going to take the brunt of this. Especially nobody, and I would even argue Okada even that nobody was going to get a good reaction with this unification from a certain part of Puro Twitter, but I get why New Japan's doing it, and I don't think Ibushi should take all the blame for it. Really, I just really don't. Yeah, I'm not gonna agree with this backlash for Ibushi fully. So let's see here. Which barbed wire exploding deathmatch would you like to watch? Omega Moxley at Revolution, or Jack Funk at IWA King of the Deathmatch? Well, I mean, Moxley and Omega hasn't happened till tomorrow, so we don't know how that's going to be, but Funk and Jack is fucking crazy. I might even watch that match too as well before tomorrow night. I watched it last week, but holy fuck. I see a talent like Tony Nese who could have done way more in this business than he is now, because he's been wasted for almost 5 years in the 205 Live purgatory. What a crock of shit. Can you believe they're still doing 205 Live, dude? Like, what the fuck? What the fuck, bro? Especially, like, you have NXT now. Damn near most of the talent on NXT wrestle like cruiserweights anyways. So why even have a 205 Live? Just integrate the 205 Live roster into NXT. That's all you have to do. 205 Live, I used to enjoy it for a while, but then once you started just seeing it being for match after match after match, I got bored and just stopped watching. So I just think the whole idea, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just don't think it needs to really exist anymore, is what I'm saying. Let's see. Who do you think will be the next top heel of wrestling? Fuck, man. I don't know. That guy might not even exist yet. If we're talking about people that exist right now, fuck. I'm trying to be fair with WWE, but it's like, who really would be the next true heel of WWE that really does well? I don't count Roman Reigns because he's the heel. He's the top heel for that company now. I'm talking about in the future. Fuck. I'm just not seeing it with anyone from WWE currently. Maybe. Damn, this sucks, man. Dude, I really don't know, man. This is actually bothering me. I'm trying to be fair to WWE, but I really don't see anyone right now that would make me think they would be the top heel of the industry. Fuck. Fuck it, I'll just say Rhea Ripley. I don't even think I really believe that answer, but I'll just say Rhea Ripley for a name. But for AEW, you have MJF. MJF is just hitting a stride right now. He definitely will be a top heel of the industry once he becomes world champion. Who else? You could probably arguably say Britt Baker with the way they're portraying her. I also think... Maybe Cody Rhodes. I mean, I did allude to that Four Horsemen storyline earlier in the newscast tonight. It could be Cody Rhodes. New Japan, it seems like they're gearing up to let that be Will Ospreay. Especially after the whole evil thing last year fucking failed. But could be Will Ospreay. They might be even setting up for the Great Khan too, even though I still don't see it yet, but there's been rumblings of that as well. Yeah. Those would be some heels that I would think would be in the top form of the industry in the next few years, maybe. I agree. Faces and heels are always the most effective way to tell a story. That and managers should not be phased out. There you go. And that's another thing, too. Managers being phased out, that's another important thing that does not get addressed nearly enough. AEW has an abundance of managers. Like, you can name them. There's a lot of managers for certain talent in AEW. New Japan has some of those as well. WWE has, I guess, some too, but not as effective as it could be because they want to let talent speak, even though they're not ready to speak. That's what managers are there for, but whatever. If you had an opportunity to be a commentator in a Joshi promotion, would you do it? Fuck yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. I don't expect that happening anytime soon, but whether it was Stardom or Ice Ribbon or hell, I'll even do Choco Pro if you want me to. Yeah, I would. If I was asked from like a Rossi or an Emi Sakura to do something with a Joshi promotion, I'd do it. I don't know if I'm the best at it. Maybe I don't know if I'm the best to do it, but I'll give the old community college try, maybe. More ridiculous, the WWE 24/7 Championship or the DDT Ironman Heavy Metalweight Championship? At least you know the DDT Championship. You at least know that's in tongue-in-cheek. You know? At least you have like at least you know the DDT Ironman Championship. You know that's tongue-in-cheek. You know that's meant to be a joke. But with the 24/7 Championship, the thing with WWE with comedy is that they, one, don't know how to do proper comedy, and when they do have something that is remotely funny, they overuse it, they overbear it, they push it and beat it down to the ground until it's no longer funny. Remember how that whole bullshit happened with Nia Jackson, My Hole, and everyone thought that was funny for a night? And maybe it was funny for one night, and then they kept beating on it and beating on it and beating on it and referencing it to where it no longer became funny. That's what WWE does all the time. In your opinion, which anime do you believe will become the new Big Four and the new standard? Fuck me. I don't know, man. Like, when Attack on Titan's done with their run, it's going to be hard for me because that anime is truly a phenomenal anime. It's to me, I don't give a fuck what anyone says, bro. Attack on Titan is one of the greatest animes of all time. Pick any era, it's one of the greatest animes of all time. I don't give a fuck about these anime elitists or these old heads like myself that are going to say, like, Attack on Titan isn't nowhere near as better as, say, like, Yu Yu Hakusho. I don't give a fuck. Attack on Titan is one of the greatest animes to ever happen. Period. And to me, you can make the argument that it's probably the best anime of all time. I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. I'll die on that hill. But it's going to be hard after that because, fuck, I don't know, man. Maybe, for all you know, those animes don't even exist. I know some people will probably say like Demon Slayer, and I do love Demon Slayer. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. My Hero Academia, obviously. I mean, Jujutsu Kaisen as well. It might really be an anime we don't know yet, so I don't know that answer so far. Let's see. You should check out Parasite. Dude, I been watched Parasite. I beat you to the punch, Joe. That's a good anime, by the way. Shinichi was one of my favorite protagonists during that whole season when Parasite came out. Your thoughts on the upcoming Championship Carnival 2021 for All Japan? I'll be honest with you, I really have not been following up with All Japan's recent developments as of late, and I know the Champion Carnival is coming up. I will go back and watch, because just to me, like, there was a point I think last 2 years ago, like, All Japan to me was just kind of like not doing it for me, I guess. But maybe I'll watch this Champion Carnival this year and give it another go, if you will. So. What is the wrestling match that made you love wrestling? Man, I don't know if there's like one definitive one. I will say, if you want to talk about me when I was like a kid, like a young kid, like a real big, like a real like young kid, barely coming into this world, I think it was like WrestleMania 7 with Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior to make me realize that I love this thing. I remember back in the days when I was like a little kid, and I'm really good at remembering a lot of stuff when I was a kid. I remember when like my dad would take us to the Blockbuster. I know a lot of people probably in the chat right now are like, "What the fuck's a Blockbuster?" But yeah, there was a Blockbuster nearby nearby our place, in our neighborhood, and we would rent and pick up a lot of these old WWF tapes, and one of them was WrestleMania 7 between Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior, the retirement match, if you will. And yeah, it's that's one match I can go back and say like that was one of those matches that made me a fan. I think another one to me also was Brett and Austin from WrestleMania 13 and that epic encounter. That was another match to me where it's like, I love wrestling. That was when like I was a big fan of Bret Hart when I was a kid. Again, I grew up during I was born in 1991, so I just missed the golden era of Hogan and Savage and Andre and Warrior. But I was born just in time for the New Generation era and the Attitude era, so I grew up with Bret Hart. Bret Hart to me was like the excellence of execution to me. He was somebody that I looked up to as a wrestler. He was my first big wrestler that I looked up to. Him and The Undertaker back in the era. So watching him face a new guy that is just so brash and so different from everybody else in Stone Cold Steve Austin, it was just truly interesting to see. It was truly interesting to watch, Yeah. Yeah. Those would be two matches that would really define my childhood as a wrestler. So WWE literally have Bad Bunny as Damian Priest's mouthpiece. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I will say this with Damian Priest. At least they are confident enough with him that they're giving him a world-renowned music superstar in Bad Bunny, that they are pairing up with him, and that they think that Damian Priest is an investment to get behind. So I won't really shit on that, honestly. At least it's an effort, which is more which is all you can ask for with this company at this point. But yeah. Who do you think will win in the season premiere of Death Battle, Yoda or King Mickey? Dude, I'll be honest, I really have not watched any Death Battles in a long time. I feel like the death battle genre has ran its course and it's running out of steam. So I just haven't watched it in a long while. I don't know. I'll just go with Yoda though. Which anime would you not watch? My example, redo of Healer. Like I said, I have watched. I am keeping tabs on redo of Healer, just to see how far this is going to go with that anime. But what anime will I not watch? All right, I mean, I'll go recent. I will not watch that abomination of an anime from Crunchyroll called X Gen. Is that what it's called? That shit is ass. That shit is an ass that eats ass while sucking ass, bro. That shit looks horrible. I have seen better PS2 games with better graphics than that anime. I think I even retweeted a clip. Let me see. Hold on. I know this is kind of doing too much here, but see if I can find it here. Give me a second. Give me a second here. See if I can find this shit. They take it down or something? Did they take it down, bro? What the fuck? Hold on. I have... You guys have to... Oh my god. Don't tell me they took this shit down, bro. Wow. I think they took it down. I just retweeted it, didn't I? Or X-Arm. It's not even called X-Gen. It's called X-Arm. That's how little I care about this anime. Oh my god. Come on. Let me see if I can find this. I have to find it. Fuck. Because I want you to realize how ass this shit is. Okay, let me see. Hopefully I can find it. Bear with me, folks. Bear with me. Bear with me. This is important. If I really can't find this, then I'm going to be actually irritated. Let's see here. Let me see here. Come on, come on. Come on. There we go. I found it. I fucking found it. Folks. Alright, I'm switching here real quick. Folks, watch this abomination real quick with me. Watch this. Watch this bullshit. Look at this shit. Look at the stilted animation. The choppiness. What the fuck was that? Oh my god, get this off my fucking screen. Get this off my screen. That shit was ass, my guy. It's called X-Arm. Don't watch that shit, bro. Crunchyroll's been promoting a lot of, like, ass anime as of late. I mean, God of High School was decent, but even then, it's like, dude, you have this budget, you have this company called Crunchyroll that's now being sold to Sony of all places. That's the best you can do? That shit's the best you can do, my guy? Bruh. Perfect Dark had better graphics than that shit. I've seen better Final Fantasy animation on PS2, my guy. I might have even seen some better N64 games than that shit. That shit was ass. You know, a lot of people shit on Attack on Titan. I don't know why. You might just be stupid. But when Attack on Titan's gone, bro, you better hope we get some quality anime of that nature, because if we don't, shit like this from Crunchyroll is going to be the norm. And if that's the case, burn anime right now. Burn it to the fucking ground. God damn. Oh. Put a bad taste in my mouth, man. That was like, that shit was in my... fuck. I'm going to... I'm going to retweet this. If you follow me on Twitter, It's at Hakeem is winning. Watch it for yourself, bro. This shit is ass. It's 2 packs of ass. That shit stinks. God damn. Sorry that you had to endure that, but I just had to show you my frustration with that anime. I tried watching that for 5 minutes, and I was like, fuck this shit. And the trailer for the show was even worse. Watch at your own caution. I wanted to get that out because it's been bothering me for a while, but thank you. Why is Bow Wow wanting to wrestle WWE? And why is Soulja Boy called WWE fake before Randy Orton shuts him up? Oh my god. You guys got so worked over that bullshit, man. You guys got so fucking worked. You know, it's funny with wrestlers. It's like, wrestlers will try to insult fans for being marks and not knowing the business and not knowing what the fuck, how the business goes. But here they are on Twitter trying to get attention and clout from Bow Wow and Soulja Boy. You fucking hypocrites. You fucking marks. Wrestlers are like the biggest hypocrites to me next to rappers and SJWs, bro. They're just so fucking hypocritical to me. It's like, you come out here, Bow Wow says that he's more famous than than a lot of you wrestlers. And quite frankly, it's true. A lot of you wrestlers and wrestling fans need to step outside the wrestling bubble. Soulja Boy and Bow Wow, on their lowest point, are more relevant than the biggest superstar in WWE, and that's a fact. That's how low, that's how much of a non-factor WWE truly is in the mainstream world. They're there for nostalgia, they're there for a Sports Center clip here or two, and that's about it. No one really gives a fuck about WWE except us wrestling fans. That's really the truth of the matter. So of course Soulja Boy said the rap game is faker than WWE, and quite frankly, he's fucking right. I had no problem with his tweet when he said the rap game is faker than WWE. He's right. So of course Randy Orton and other fucking geeks got basically and tried to one up Soulja Boy, and I'm just laughing my ass off. And I even tweeted something like to somebody that replied to Soulja Boy saying like, "Wow, Soulja Boy got these people mad." And I'm like, and I tweeted back at the dude and I said, "Yeah, and he's winning." And these fucking geeks on the internet, these drones on Twitter, tried to say, "Oh no, he's actually losing. He's actually getting owned." You stupid motherfuckers, man. How do you not see what's happening here? The more you keep replying to Soulja Boy, the more you prove him right. The more he's able to goad you into responding or goad you into some way of proving his point, the more you prove it. All Orton had to do and other people of that kind have to do is ignore him. And the shit would have went away quicker than it did. But because wrestlers are so desperate for attention and clout from mainstream acts and from mainstream acts and mainstream companies and mainstream celebrities, that they will have to do shit like this to get attention. I saw Alexa Bliss trying to pwn Soulja Boy. And it's like, look at this bitch over here doing a poor-ass Soulja Boy tell him dance. And say, "Oh no, I was just mocking Asuka." You're just fucking justifying the fact that you don't even know what's relevant in pop culture. And I saw idiots out here saying, "Oh, well, Soulja Boy is irrelevant." Compared to his heyday and peak, that may be the case. But even then, Soulja Boy continues to be a meme and continues to be a factor within hip-hop to where he's been a trend for a lot of other rappers and styles. What the fuck has the WWE done to really justify them coming after Soulja Boy and Bow Wow for that matter? And don't get me wrong, Bow Wow has done some cringe and corny shit these past couple of years. And he is still more popular than most of these wrestlers in the WWE. Period. Why do you think a lot of these wrestlers responded back to Bow Wow and Soulja Boy on Twitter? They know what the fuck this is. They're not that stupid. They are stupid, but they're not that stupid. They knew that doing something like this would get them attention for that time being. Because Bow Wow and Soulja Boy, however you may think of them, are superstars compared to the WWE wrestlers. Period. So they got worked. And they can't handle the fact that they got worked. Remember when Cardi B was mentioned on the Legends Night this year? And Cardi B said, "Oh, I don't even watch wrestling no more like that." And then a lot of these wrestlers saying like, "Oh, well, you should watch me on Mondays. Oh, well, you haven't seen what I can do." It's like, you fucking simps. You fucking leeches. Fucking get a hold of yourself, goddammit. Holy shit. But I was laughing. I was just laughing how Soulja Boy and Bow Wow just said something and got the wrestling world, fans and wrestlers alike, to respond back at them. It's like, you fucking idiots. And you have the nerve to call us. And you have the nerve to call us marks when you do shit like this. When you do embarrassing shit like this. Shut the fuck up. The new standard of anime manga will be Spy X Family. I believe that's a manga. I really don't read manga like I used to. Unless like it's a special occasion where I have to read it. But I'll take your idea for it. If there was an anime you've been aiming to watch but you didn't get a chance to, what would it be? I would assume you're saying like if there was an anime that I didn't watch at the time but I should have watched when it was coming out. I'll say Death Note. I did not watch Death Note when it first came out. I was still on my I was still watching like Full Metal Alchemist and Naruto and One Piece and Code Geass. I was watching those animes. I just didn't get to Death Note when it came out, but I eventually watched it. I at least watched it before Netflix did the movie. Man, my ex at the time tried to convince me to watch the Netflix movie of Death Note, and yes, I was that guy that to where it's like she thought a lot of the shit was cool, and I was like, that's not what happened in the anime. Like, that's not. Why the fuck does Light look like this? He looks like a fucking geek. It's like, why does Misa looks like an ugly tramp? L is black. What the fuck is going on here? Yeah, I was that dude. Bold strategy for New Japan to book the Tokyo Dome again for May 29th Wrestle Grand Slam. I kind of understand why they're doing it. I guess New Japan are betting on things getting better with the coronavirus between now and late May, so they can fill in at least 25,000, excuse me, something they couldn't do at Wrestle Kingdom 15. Yeah, it's basically, New Japan is basically playing catch up from last year's coronavirus. They feel confident that the coronavirus restrictions will ease by around May to where they can get more fans to be a part of Wrestle Grand Slam. I don't know if they'll be able to do it, and who knows with this whole pandemic that's still being used for certain ulterior motives, but with New Japan, I mean, they're playing catch up basically. They're basically trying to bank on the restrictions being lifted, so that way we can have at least a somewhat full capacity for the Tokyo Dome. We'll see if it pays off. I don't know though. That's a big ask. Everybody on the chat shitting on X Arm. Yeah, that shit was ass, man. That was one of the worst animes, quite frankly, that I've seen. And I saw Monster Rancher when I grew up, and that shit was ass too. Sorry, guys. All right, and I believe that's all the questions. Oh wait. This is gonna be risky to recommend, but might I recommend Keijo? Is that the anime with the girls that are doing like butt pounding or butt pounding, butts? They're basically playing like sumo with their butts and tits. Is that the one that you're recommending? I've seen the anime. I didn't get to watch it. I didn't finish it. Maybe I need to just get over it and finish it, but I have seen it. It was something. Let's put it that way. It was something. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Yeah. So looks like that'll be it for the newscast. Looks like all the questions have been answered, and I want to thank everybody for sending their questions on the live chat. The next newscast, the next proper newscast, will be episode 109. We'll be doing a WrestleMania week newscast. I will have special guests through Discord discussing WrestleMania with me that week, so make sure you guys tune in for that. We will do our draft episode the week before that newscast, to where we'll put up together our first ever newscast draft card. We'll do that. But other than that, that'll do it. Follow me on Twitter, Twitter.com/TheKeemcast for the newscast, or follow my personal Twitter, Twitter.com/HakeemIsWinning. Follow me on Facebook, Facebook.com/TheKeemcast. And if you would like to donate any type of money whatsoever, if you'd like to donate any type of money towards your boy, because your boy needs to make bank with certain things for the newscast and other things, it's Streamlabs.com. Streamlabs.com/TheAnimeCW. It's Streamlabs.com/TheAnimeCW. If you'd like to donate something to me personally, that would be very appreciated. I would very much appreciate that. Other than that, I will see you guys for the newscast for Mania Week. I might even do a live reaction for WrestleMania for both nights. Depends on if you guys want that or not. So, other than that, that'll do it. I am out of here. And with that being said, this is Hakeem Johnson telling all of you to stay cool. Stay cool. I will see you guys weeks from now. And HWXL will be out next week. Till then, stay cool. Later.